Peace, greetings to you all. It's your brother Naheem, BKA Lord Abba, aka Mr. Just the Fact. Mr. Just the Facts family. First and foremost, of course, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you share the video out. We're getting back to the basics around here, and tonight we're gonna touch on some comments that were made by a brother.
I have a
Uh,
quick question before you go.
Go ahead, brother.
Josh, are you on?
Yep. You
Does
hear that?
Naheem's
Can you hear
mic
that?
sound? Naheem's mic sound a little low to you?
It sounds like he cooking. So,
It sounds good.
One, two.
The volume is not low.
Is my volume too low? How it
That there you
sound?
go. That's better right there. There
One,
you go.
two. Can you hear me?
yeah,
Can
you
you hear it?
good. You
Sound
good.
good? Okay.
Powerful, powerful,
I don't
excellent.
know.
Oh,
Something is,
oh,
is,
I,
is
I hear a buzzing. Oh, it went away now. There you
okay.
go.
That's. Let me know if y'all hear it again, because I can't hear
Y'all
it
hear it
on
on
my
my
end.
end now?
No.
Oh, okay.
So
The buzzing might be me. I don't know. You
Yeah,
hear
it
it?
is actually. Yeah,
okay,
You hear
yeah.
it?
It
I don't hear
sounds
it.
a little spacey, just a little bit. It's
it's
a
all
little
good
bit.
though.
So peace to the Freedmen family in the building. Christopher Perkins, BTP Riri on deck. Sister Shayna is on deck. Our brother Grim is in the building. You already know what time it is, man. So again, y'all let me know if my sound goes out. I don't know, something wrong with my audio interface. And but anyway, we're watching the piece that the brother from Turtle Gang did with Peace Brother Chris and Manike with Brother Sharif Bey. And it was a good conversation speaking to the origins of pretendianism and you know how really basically my summation of it was how the Moorish movement is really the origins of pretendianism, right?
That's
So
a
I
fact.
thought that was good, but there was some problematic stances about reparations, and we're gonna get to we're gonna play that we're gonna play those clips, and I want to give a caveat, right? This has been Brother Sharif Bey's position since I was a member of the Moorish movement, since I was in the Moorish movement, right? We've had these debates. Some of you may have heard me mention right here on the platform that there were brothers that I would have debates with in the movement about reparations. So this is his position, and his position is static. So I want to be clear that this isn't some new position that this brother is taking.
Now
So
let me say this real quick because just to
mhm.
be fair, I'm gonna just text the brother and he sent me a response to um, the fact that I brought up some concerns. I said that there are certain things that they mentioned that I disagreed with, right? And one of those things was specifically that reparations is viewed as a handout as opposed to justice, right? That's something that we hear a lot coming from people who, and I told them this often comes from people who are anti-reparation, that it's some sort of a handout. But these are like one of the main arguments that comes up from the people. And and his response to me was that as a member of the Moorish Science Temple, the founder of the organization teaches that the European would have to pay us with compound interest. So he's not anti-reparations, he's pro-reparations, but they just see it with a few necessary prerequisites. So that was what he was saying. I mean, that's what he texted me, and I just wanted to put that on the record. So it's fair, and it is what he said. So now we could go into the actual video and listen to some of the things that were said, and kind of just dialogue about it from the perspective of where we are with things at this point. You could go ahead, Naheem. I think you're
You
muted,
muted.
bro.
My bad. Again, let me know if my mic sound funny at any point in time. Um, I got some light pollution going on on this side of me. I'll fix that in a second. But just I want to get to the video. And brother Josh, what was your takeaway before while I'm pulling that up from what was said about reparations? Because I think we all agree that the overall discussion was good, but that part about reparations is problematic. It's very problematic.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I felt that listening to the program, a lot of good information was shared, breaking down that history, and I thought it was good. And then when you get to like 1 minute and I don't know, minute and a quarter to minute and 20 section, it got kind of confusing. Like, well, I shouldn't say confusing because it's pretty clear that the sentiment was that forget about like to think about pursuing justice. Um, that should be an afterthought. What you should focus on is actually building yourself up on your own, and that's never going to happen. They're never just going to give you anything. So you just pretty much need to just do the best you can. And I mean, part of it, I took what he was saying was if you really believe you're gonna get justice, then you kind of want to prepare yourself by already being, pursuing the things that you would do once you get the money. And I mean, I can agree with that to a certain extent, but the overall undertone is pretty much do for self. And we are, I mean, we have a myriad of reasons why to show why that's never going to be a viable solution for the masses of the group. And we have the economic data to show that that's not a viable solution. We have a whole lot of people that have put their whole career and lives into studying this thing to show that without the justice that we're seeking, that we're just going to continue to fall off a cliff as a group. We're not talking. This thing is not. It shouldn't be about rugged individualism for us and us um, having been the group that been denied for generation and still experiencing a severe amount of hindrances and disparities. We at the bottom of pretty much every metric, and you think that we can behave or work ourselves out of that? That's kind of ludicrous because that's not how any group. That's not how we were put in the situation, and that's not how any of these other groups got ahead. They didn't do it just from out of sheer grit, and we're gonna demonstrate all of that tonight.
Indeed, indeed. And I want to say this before we continue. The breadth of knowledge that is out there on this issue of reparations. You spoke to people that have put their heart and soul into this work, and we know from the book. I usually keep a copy on my desk. I have several, but I think that one is in my car. But the when you look at from here books like From Here to Equality, written by Reparations for Black Americans in the 21st Century, written by Dr. Darity and A. Kirsten Mullen. I don't think that the approach is, and I don't know if they knew about the book, right? But it's been out there. We've promoted it. It's not like we're not crossing each other in these particular YouTube streets, if you will. People see what it is that what we're posting. We see what other folks are posting. And sometimes that stuff comes across our periphery, and we're able to dissect it and look at it, just like this right here. I'm not saying I'm checking for anybody because I'm not. We're too focused trying to get this real uplift work done over here with this Freedmen movement that I don't have time to check for anybody. But that
No,
was a conversation.
absolutely not. And let me
Mhm.
just add on to that. Even first of all, I respect the brother Turtle Gang because and Sharif as well. I respect Turtle Gang particularly. I'm saying this is because one of the things that he's been doing, and I've been paying attention to it, is trying to clear up a lot of the confusion surrounding all of this pretendianism, right? And you know, I know, Turtle Gang has been around for years, so he's not new to this. Like a lot of these other cats with these tribe things, that just popped up, yesterday, the day before yesterday, with all of this stuff all over Clubhouse and Twitter space. So, the brother's family is actually Lenape, right? I've seen him prove that he has Lenape family. And so that's not no BS claim of his. And he has a really thorough understanding of of how one acquires the identity of a tribe or a nation of people that's considered American, Indian, etc. in this country. So he knows that stuff very well. Him and I think it was his cousin that he was on. They do their show together or whatever. And I've been checking them out, and I respect what they're on. It's just when it came to them talking about with him and Sharif talking about reparations, it became problematic for me as well. Go ahead, bro. I just wanted to inject that.
Indeed, indeed. BTP Corey in the building. Long time no hear from, brother. What's going on, man? And the Freedmen are on deck. And I want to be clear before we go on. Let me one more point before we pull the video up is that Freedman is a status, right? People say you was a Moor and now you're a Freedman. And it's like no matter how much we educate people on what this Freedmen movement is about, they'll continue to make those claims. And it's a part of one being just irresponsible in your research, and two, having some way to combat something that that you cannot refute. So, I mean, when people ask me, am I more? I say, yeah, I'm still a more. I mean, it is what it is. What
Bro,
does
I
that
was
mean?
just going into this Twitter space Morgan had earlier. I was just
Mhm.
going into the importance of I was just going into the importance of the Moorish history and how that particular portion of African history, European and African history, brings us to where we are today, and how and why we're here today as a people, because it absolutely is connected, and those who understand that and know that history know it. So I was breaking some of that down in Morgan's space earlier today, man. It's very, very important. It absolutely is connected to who we are in this country and why we're here. When you
Mhm.
particularly as you're looking at it from the lens of the Atlantic slave trade, the authorization of the crusades against the Saracens or the Moors of Africa, the Muslims, and it was breaking down how this particular fight that we look at as a black and versus white fight is actually something that started as a Muslim versus Christian fight and turned into a black versus white fight. You understand what I'm saying? And so here we are, you know what I mean? But there's a lot in between to explain all of that stuff. But in a nutshell, this is what it is. It was a European Christian fight against African Muslims that turned into this black and white thing that we have going on today.
That's right. That's right. All right. So we are going to play the clip again, fellas. Let me know if my mic gets distorted at any point so that I could try to make an adjustment. I don't know. I'm just gonna get a whole new interface because I switch chords and I don't, and it's not that. So y'all just bear with me, man. Peace to Llama Bay in the building, and peace to everybody else that's joined and watching. Like I said, we're getting back to the basics, and so we want to get back to educating on the topic of reparations. So without further ado, let's start from around an hour and 17 minutes. This is where the conversation begins to lead into the stance of reparations, right? And the things that they said that we found problematic. And the purpose again tonight is to educate the people, right? We have to educate people because I don't think that they are fully educated on what reparations is. It's not just cut the check, and you're gonna hear this is kind of tropish at this point, but you're gonna, and I'm gonna call it that, you're gonna hear this trope repeated by these brothers. So let's go.
You're left with this, so many people running around here now wanting to challenge the former idea. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so that's kind of, I like to think like that's kind of what leads us into where we at now. But
Yes.
that demonstration that Africa Bambaataa had, I feel like was very impactful. Do you remember that?
I remember it very distinctly, and you know, I remember the shift you're speaking of, or the transition that you're speaking of, just as, you know, making a very big leap forward as a result of that conference.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and again, you know, apologies if this offends, but again, our people are very trendy.
Mm-hmm.
When you've been deprived of things that other groups and other national groups and other people don't even know what it's like to be without. They don't know what it's like to be without identity. You're talking about a group of people that had to be taught who they are.
Yeah.
That's never happened in the history of humanity. You see what I'm saying? And so, you know, we're so quick to snatch up any little thing and hug it as if it's the whole thing. And so, you know, that's what we are subject to being possessed by fads, fashion. It is now fashionable. It's stylish now to be like, yeah, I'm Aboriginal, indigenous. It's stylish, but there's a motive behind it. That motive behind it is, well, that affords me liberties and rights that you don't have.
Okay. Now, check this out. Now, this is where it all pays off, right? Because what people really are looking for is remedy.
Come on.
They're looking for remedy. And is the remedy lying in, like, just in the heritage? Or is there an actual remedy that lies within knowing how to navigate through this system and being mindful so you can create your own wealth?
Come on, brother.
Right? As opposed to thinking that identifying as something is going to now be your get out of jail, get rich quick thing. You see what I'm saying?
Brother, you hit it right on the nose. You hit it right on the nose. You hit it right on the nose. As a matter of fact, we say this, right? Man is the Lord of all the plane and manifest, but he gave up his birthright just to gratify his lowest self. And here we are with all this knowledge and all this consciousness in 2022, and we are ready to sell it all for a reparations check.
Whether it's an indigenous one, or it's an African slave narrative one.
Okay, so let's pause right there because, you know, again, I want to go back to what I said earlier. Brother Sharif Bey and I have had several debates over the years about reparations. I have a video that's still up on this channel from when this was a Moorish channel called Moorish American versus Black Moorish American versus Black identity and the issue of reparations, something like that. It was like 11 years ago I did that video, right? And he and I have had these debates. So when you hear Turtle Gang say whether it's an indigenous or an aboriginal reparations check or an African slave one, this is the part that brings about our disagreement. You know, we disagree with that because before he gets to this point, he's kind of prefacing it with do for selfism, and he's going to speak to that a little bit more. Ali, you wanted, and Josh, did y'all wanted to add anything before we finish listening in?
Well, yeah, I think the preface is already being made in terms of, you know, in terms of where this is going, right? We already see it. It one of the things, and I know we pointed this out before. One of the things with the Moors, the Nation of Islam, and many other people, right? Elijah Muhammad just articulated it, you know, in a way that Noble Drew Ali may not necessarily have articulated it so plainly. Even though he does talk about doing doing for self, right, in his way. But Elijah Muhammad is the one who really do for self. That particular terminology, do for self, right? And we talked about how do for selferism is not new to our particular group of people, right? You had to do for self. Nobody did anything for us ever, right? Anything that we've ever achieved was by way of struggle. Nothing came easy, right? And I think a lot of what's being said seems to be is being put in a way where it's like we're looking for some kind of easiness, right? Which is not a bad thing. After having to struggle for centuries to get small gains, I don't see why it would be a bad thing for people to want to be able to live a normal existence where you don't have to struggle for things and you're actually able to access the things that American citizenship supposedly affords to its taxpaying citizens. As taxpayers, I don't see why you should be looking to consistently, continuously, year after year, decade after decade, century after century, be trying to struggle in order to get these little small achievements. It's not like even with the principles that came from the Moorish movement, it's not like those principles somehow propelled the people of that movement economically, wealth in terms of wealth, economically, socially, politically, in any way past the group of people who are called black in this country. So I don't understand why that it has to always take the form of somehow you guys are looking for some quick fix. Nothing will be quick. Even if it happened tomorrow, it wouldn't be quick because you're talking about 400 years before that of a whole bunch of stuff that occurred, and we're going to get into some more of the details of that. So even if it happened tomorrow overnight, that wouldn't be no quick fix. That's just the result of years and years and centuries of a whole bunch of stuff. So, but I just don't understand why it has to consistently be framed in such a way as you guys are looking for some kind of quick fix or some kind of handout or some kind of, get out of jail free card. Nobody's trying to get out of jail free. People have put in work. Families have put in work, 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 like
I'll say
building.
I'll
Go ahead,
I'll
go ahead,
say
bro.
this, right, on the get out of jail free card part. I believe that portion of it was confined to the topic, right? But what Sharif it was kind of cunning, right? He blended the reparations claim into his talking points. And because I know the brother, and we've been uh for the most part adversaries for years. I mean, we don't have no real issues now. I've left that movement alone, but we've been adversaries, and you know your adversary, and you know what they're doing, and how they're saying what they're saying when they're saying it. So, and I peep how he was weaving in that the anti-reparationist talk, because you don't hear the indigenous aboriginal folks necessarily speaking about reparations. That's something that we're doing over here in this Freedmen movement and several other movements, right? And
Right.
and there's a brother, let me pull his comment up. Andre Williams L said, "Tell the truth, brothers. Lord Sharif is absolutely right." And I don't know the brother. I don't know if Sharif Bey has taken on the title Lord on his name. I'm not sure, but that on the topic of reparations, brother Sharif Bey is absolutely wrong, and we're going to prove that tonight. Like, this isn't
Right.
a bunch of opinion that we're going to give. We're just going to dig into some things, and hopefully, the brother and everybody else
And
who's watching, who may come across this video, will learn something.
and brother Sharif can speak for himself. Okay.
Yeah, we.
You
Oh yeah,
know
we
the,
give
the
out
fact of the
links.
matter is the fact
We
of the
give
matter
out the links.
is he's more than welcome to come on and clarify or expound on what it was he was saying. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with
That's a
that.
fact. That is a fact.
And so yeah, absolutely right. Is based on to me you're saying that he's absolutely right because of the way that you guys are have been conditioned to think about black people looking for justice. And this is something that we talked about as well. One of the bad things for me about the Moorish movement was their separatist mentality, right? Even though they try to say that they're not separatists, they're for the people, they're for the upliftment of the people, but they carry this underlying separatist mentality, and it always manifests in the words and in the way that they interact or don't interact with other people of their own group. You know what I'm saying? It's just like years ago, there was a member of the Moorish Science Temple that I got into a back and forth with, and he was talking about what Negroes weren't, what Negroes didn't do, what Negroes couldn't do, what Negroes didn't do, all of this kind of stuff like that. And it pissed me off so much that I just really went in on the guy, because I was like, everything that our group of people accomplished in this country was accomplished by people who went under the name of black and Christian, not Moorish and Muslim, not Moorish and Muslim. All of the accomplishments, whether that be Supreme Court precedents, whether that be the establishment of the Reconstruction Amendments, by fighting, physically fighting in the Civil War by the hundreds of thousands for their own liberation and their families. You understand what I'm saying? It's too much that has been actually done by quote unquote Negroes or black people for them to consistently take the position that our people, their own family members, because many of their family members identify as members of the black race, right? They be their own mothers, their own fathers, their own brothers and stuff, because a lot of these people are in these movements by themselves. The rest of their family are not, and it's like your whole family are quote unquote black people. Most of them are Christians, but you take this attitude like this is Negro nonsense, Negro. I had to say, I had to tell the brother throughout. Once Noble Drew Ali passed away, and throughout the entire course of the civil rights movement, the Moors were absent while the people were getting water hosed, dogs sicked on them, churches bombed with little girls getting killed, all that kind of stuff that was happening in the South and in the North. The Moors were absent, physically, mentally, psychologically absent. They were not there. All right, so I just don't like the idea of people consistently being acting as a separatist group and putting other people down, putting their own family members down, and the things that they engage in, particularly as it relates to the acquisition of justice, the pursuit of justice. Right, one of the main principles of the Moorish movement, justice. People pursuing justice as a handout or some kind of in some kind of way Negro nonsense. It's just that's very problematic to me. Go ahead, bro.
Facts, facts. It's got a troll in here. Ashburn Connect TV. Pay him no mind, fam. I don't even know what he's talking about. Okay, so let's continue this, and then we'll come back and have Josh go in, because we got a lot of talking points, and y'all sometimes we'll talk for 2 hours about something that's 5 minutes long, because we just have so
My
much to
bad.
say about. No,
I have
it's all
some
good.
timestamps too if you know if you
Okay,
need them.
cool, definitely. So let's play this, and then we'll jump in as needed. But I do want to let me just bring it back slightly a little bit, just a little bit.
But there's a motive behind it. That motive behind it is, well, that affords me liberties and rights that you don't have.
Okay. Now, check this out. Now, this is where it all pays off, right? Because what people really are looking for is remedy.
Come
right?
on.
They're looking for remedy. And is the remedy lying in, like, just in the heritage? Or is there an actual remedy that lies within knowing how to navigate through this system and being mindful so you can create your own wealth?
Come on, brother.
I gotta say real quick, the Constitution speaks about petitioning the government for a redress of grievances. That's the remedy.
Bro,
That's what
I
this
was just
Freedmen
getting
movement.
ready.
Okay,
I
that's
was
what this
just getting
Freedmen.
ready to go there.
We've
Like
been
they,
building for a long time, so we could finish
we
each
already
other's thoughts
know,
on certain stuff.
and
So
it's like and the talk about it. Turtle brings it up like one of the main takeaways from his interactions with the Moors, the attention they paid to law and the attention that he winds up paying to law because of the way that he was taught from being around Moors and stuff like that. Well, the supreme law of the land, which they always talk about, is the Constitution of the United States Constitution. Like you said, it's a part of the constitutional right of the citizens, the tax-paying citizens, to be able to petition the government that they pay taxes to for redress of their specific grievances. Black people are no different than Puerto Ricans, than Dominicans, than Asian American Pacific Islanders, than Japanese Americans, than anybody else who had the right as a citizen of this country to petition the government that they are paying taxes to for redress of their specific grievances. Blacks are no different. I don't care if you don't like the name black. I don't care if you don't like the name African American. That is beside the point. It's completely beside the point. It has nothing to do with anything. The fact of the matter is, black people are foundational to this country, to this particular body politic called the United States of America. They've helped to build it physically and its economy through slave labor, stolen labor, etc. And I ain't just talking about picking cotton. These people right here in New York City, the Africans built New York City. You can read that in New York's Historical Society. They talk about how that the African slaves of the Dutch West India Company built Manhattan. They built that like physically, the roads, the buildings, the schools, the that, all of that stuff. So, like I said, none of this stuff is new. And you're talking about in the 1600s under the Dutch, under the Dutch, they building this stuff. Same thing with with Philadelphia. They built that. They built the White House. So nothing is overnight. It's not like there wasn't any work put in. It's not like people are trying to get something for nothing. There was a lot of work put in by our families and a lot of injustice done simultaneously that people had to endure for generations. So go ahead, bro. I get on my little rant. My bad.
nah, it's all good. All right, we're gonna play. Let's play through this again, and I just wanted to say the redress, the petitioning the government for the redress of grievances. That is the duty and obligation of the citizens of this country when they have harms inflicted upon them. So let's continue.
Right? As opposed to thinking that identifying as something is going to now be your get out of jail, get rich quick thing. You see what I'm saying?
Brother, you hit it right on the nose. You hit it right on the nose. You hit it right on the nose. As a matter of fact, we say this, right? Man is the Lord of all the plain and manifest, but he gave up his birthright just to gratify his lowest self. And here we are with all this knowledge and all this consciousness in 2022, and we are ready to sell it all for a reparations check.
That part right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's that part right there. And that is everybody is entitled to their own interpretation of the scriptures. I used to say that when I used to be debating the same brothers and sisters in the Moorish movement. But some things, in my opinion, were clear when contextualized. And that's not what that particular scripture speaks about when it's talking about that vast estate and the gratification of the lower self, which was basically meaning that man himself wanted to become a part of this plane of manifest. But that is another argument. But I had to throw that part in there because that's off. That's off. I would, even in the movement, if I was still in the movement, I would have challenged that.
Mm-hmm. And
you know what I'm saying?
And
what you said, Ali?
Just to add on, no, it's a shame, right? To say that people are throwing away knowledge and consciousness for a reparations check is really wrong, man. Like nobody's doing that, right? One of the Let me tell you something. I don't know if he knows this, man, but what we've been getting accolades for from many of our people is the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that we've actually brought with us to this particular reparation space, right? I mean, not just from our everyday brothers and sisters, but from actual minds, like real minds. You know what I'm saying? Actual scholars, actual, like, you know what I mean? Thinkers, man. People who yo, like, nah, we're not. Just for us personally, just speaking to the point that he made, we've thrown nothing away. We've thrown nothing away except the things that are not useful, right? And we
What the
recognize that.
hey, what the lessons say? We use the axe to cut off the knotty, useless, and ungainly parts.
Right. That's right. That's right. And there is an aspect of the Moorish teachings. I know my brother said he hope in the beginning he said he don't mean to offend, and we're not trying to offend either. But there is an aspect of the Moorish teachings to me that's not useful in this day and time with the people here in this country, because it creates this. It too much undergirds the idea of this separatist group. The Moors are a separatist group. We're separate from the Negroes. You know what I'm saying? Because we have it all figured out. You know what I mean? We have it all figured out, and we're a separatist group because our doctrine is so solid, and we know some things that other people don't know. And so it creates this pseudo elitist kind of vibe amongst that group, and it's like it's unnecessary because when if you want to get down to it, we're all here in this country together. Nobody has produced anything. When you start talking about not producing, there are a lot of black people who own things, right? I might be going too far, man, but I'll say this in a nutshell: the Moors in this country, Moorish Americans, Moors in America, Moors, whatever kind of way you want to say it,
Washita Murs.
have not produced anything more or substantive than black people in this, quote unquote, black people or black Christians in this country. That's just an absolute fact that nobody can prove wrong. It is what it is. So even with this doctrine, even with the idea that we have this superior doctrine, we have this superior teaching, we have ourselves a prophet, even with all of that, they still have not been able to produce anything that supersedes black Americans, freedmen, have been able to produce in this country through their struggles. Go ahead, bro.
Indeed. Well, we might as well go to John. No, Josh, like, yo, y'all can't just be going in and then go into the video without letting me say what I got to say. You got something to add to that, Josh?
Nah, man. I mean, it's it's problematic. It's problematic because, again, this thing about it's like, what is the whole point of consciousness? Let me ask y'all that. What is he's using this term consciousness, and I don't know if he's using, like, I don't know what's the context of that. Is he saying you going around all through all these different schools of thought, and are you talking about all the books and stuff you're reading? You talking about like actual understanding or awakening through like right knowledge? Like what is he talking about when he says consciousness? Because if he's saying like you understanding certain things from this school of thought paradigm, and then that's bringing us together, and you're throwing that away because you actually want something tangible for your people, you actually want justice to, that's a problem. What do y'all, what do you think he means in terms of throwing all this consciousness away? I'm trying to understand that statement.
Can I answer that?
Oh,
Go
yeah,
ahead,
go
I
ahead,
please.
think
bro.
he means, um, in in short, and it may be more to it because he can speak. Like I said, if he wants to come on, he can. It's no problem. It's our brother,
You too,
right? He's
Ish.
our brother.
I
He's
know.
our brother.
Hold on. We know you watching, Ish. You could definitely come on. But go ahead, Ali. My bad.
I think that what Moors and not just Sharif, but what I think Moors are looking for is for people, particularly folks like us, to consistently cling to the Moorish identity, right? To the Moorish doctrine, the Moorish teachings. And when they see that you're not pushing that out front and that's not what you're leading with, then, you might have, you might have statements like, well, certain people have acquired a bunch of consciousness and knowledge, and they're foregoing all of that in favor of some reparations check. And so, but see, that's the way I see it, Josh. I feel like that's kind of like what that means, and it may mean something completely different. But if he, if he cares to expound on that, he could. It's not a problem at all.
All right, I'm gonna just get back to. I ain't even going to answer. That was perfect. I want to get to these.
Yeah,
finish going through this real quick.
Isn't this one,
Woo.
or it's an African slave
Come on.
narrative one?
Either way,
People looking for a check.
We just want the check, bro.
Yeah. And meanwhile, the communities that I represent and that,
Right.
aren't having these debates in their head because they are who they are and they're living that life. Know what they're doing? They working. They creating farms.
Come on,
They're
brother.
creating a remedy.
So he's talking about the communities that he represents, right? And we don't
Like
know what
Indians probably, Lenape maybe.
And he said
maybe.
they're working and they're creating farms, and what does that really mean at the end of the day, right? It's like a lot of times we get these people that talk this land, we need land, and it's always centered around the same element, right? Farming. Why can't I get this off the page? I want to pull up something real quick. Right? Because what the hell did I do? Oh, let me pull this up real
Took
quick.
the video down.
All right, let me just pull this up real quick. So this is CNN also reported on this. Several news outlets reported on this. The average black family would need 228 years to build the wealth of a white family today. This is why reparations is so important, right? And we could get into some of this, but let's read. If current economic trends continue, the average black household will need 228 years to accumulate as much wealth as their white counterparts hold today. For the average Latino family, it will take 84 years. 84 years for them, 228 years for us. And they're citing the studies, right? And I'm not going to get into all of those different things, but I wanted to highlight that fact.
Hey, Naheem, do you have the Citibank piece?
Yeah, let's pull that up right quick. Let's pull that up while we're on this particular screen. See if y'all can see that. No, is it really gonna make me? Oh, there we go. Cost of racism. U.S. economy lost 16 trillion because of discrimination, Bank says. See, a lot of the Hispanics are not facing the same discrimination that we are facing. And this is just a fact. It's a fact. They are white adjacent in this country. And the data, right? The data proves that. Let me show one more thing. The data proves that. This is from Bloomberg. Hold on.
And that Citibank article was talking about racism against African
Americans specifically. And I can pull that back indeed. Up. For those that follow the channel know that we've read from that ad nauseum. So flying up the ladder, Hispanic incomes grew faster than Hispanic incomes grew faster than those of any other group in recent years. Estimated percent growth in median household income between 2014 and 2019. We clearly see that between these 5 years, Hispanic incomes have actually grown. That article about 228 years it would take black people to catch up to white people was speaking about incomes. It was speaking about incomes. If you're not rooted in the data, then you're going to keep making the same irresponsible arguments and irresponsible claims. And that's why we wanted to do this tonight. And I know some people are going to take it, some type of way. That part of it, I don't care about. We need to teach, and we can't keep holding on to these faulty positions. So let's get back to this thing, and y'all tell me if y'all need any part to stop that y'all hear that is problematic. I don't know if I hit the audio. Let me know if y'all can hear it.
Without even having to ask for it, because unbeknownst to a lot of people, a lot of these communities that are indigenous, native, you know what I mean? Like a lot of these communities, right? The communities that I'm a part of, they're not federally recognized.
Right.
They're not getting no money.
Right.
They're just living their culture. Right.
Brother, let me say this to those who identify as Moorish Americans, right? When the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, with us all members must proclaim your nationality, that ain't no paperwork. That's no, that is not a legal filing. That's not no paperwork. It's literally what you just said, brother. If you're that and you know what that entails, if you understand the quality and character of a Moorish American, a descendant of Moroccans and born in America, then you'll do what your forefathers did, and you ain't got to ask nobody for nothing. You just do it. You live the life. That's proclaiming, making it known. Filing no paperwork, that doesn't do it. That's not proclaiming. Living the life. If the Moors fed the world for nearly 800 years, what you doing? Mm-hmm. You got to have it to give it, though.
See, the problem.
Yeah.
The problem here, let me just mute real quick.
Like,
the problem here is he's mixing two different arguments, right? He's mixing the topic that he came onto this particular platform to speak about, plus reparations, right? And it's all in everything that he's saying. Again, I know the brother. We've been adversaries for years. It's just a fact. It's a fact. So, and I know his method in methodology when it comes to argument and framing arguments, et cetera, et cetera. So like that's what he's doing here. And I wanted to point that out to the people that might be confused. Like, well, it sounds like he's speaking about, just the more. Nah, he's adding both of them. He's adding both of them in his. It's like, let me hit these two birds with one stone. Let me hit the reparationists, which myself, Ali, Josh, BTP, United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen, the whole Freedmen movement represents, and let me go at these, what we call the pretendians, these pseudo fake Indian people at the same exact time. So, I just wanted to point that part out.
Wow.
So an individual is stating, this is what your boy argued. This is what you don't understand. You're saying our land and resources were stolen, so why shouldn't we be looking for restitutions for what was done to us? That's the thing. The land you're talking about, the resources you're talking about, were stolen from nations. And guess what? Those actual nations are doing just what you're talking about.
Well, see, this brother, right? He made that up. Like, we just got to be honest. He made that up. I'm gonna pull this article up, and brother Josh, you could come in.
Yeah.
Come in
when I heard that, I thought he was. I'm like, I didn't hear it as he was talking to us. I heard he was talking about Indians.
No, whoever he's speaking to is speaking about land theft and the fact that we need reparations for that. I mean, look, let's play it back real quick. Let's play it back real quick.
Right,
brother. Let me say this to those who identify as Moorish Americans, right? When the Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, with us all members must proclaim your nationality, that ain't no paperwork. That's no, that is not a legal filing. That's not no paperwork. It's literally what you just said, brother. If you're that and you know what that entails, if you understand the quality and character of a Moorish American, a descendant of Moroccans and born in America, then you'll do what your forefathers did, and you ain't got to ask nobody for nothing. You just do it. You live the life. That's proclaiming, making it known. Filing no paperwork, that doesn't do it. That's not proclaiming. Living the life. If the Moors fed the world for nearly 800 years, what you doing? You gotta have it to give it, though.
Gotta have
You
it
see
to
what I'm
give it.
saying?
You
Yeah.
gotta have
You
it.
gotta have it to give it.
And like, you know,
Wow.
so an individual is stating this is what your boy are you. This is what you don't understand. You're saying our land and resources were stolen, so why shouldn't we be looking for restitutions for work what was done to us?
You see, so right there, that part is clear what he's talking about. So let me pull this link up. Right? Let me pull this up. So y'all know we educate over here. We educate over here. Okay. US black farmers lost $326 billion worth of land in the 20th century. And this was according to a study that was done. Black farmers in the United States lost roughly $326 billion worth of acreage during the 20th century, according to the first study to quantify the present day value of that loss. Land loss is a contributor to the racial wealth gap in the United States and an issue that has marred the relationship between the U.S. Department of Agriculture and minority farmers. Wealth and land is one way in this country that you're able to grow opportunity for your family, says Dr. Dania Francis. And I believe this is someone that Dr. Dougherty has worked with as well. If I'm not mistaken, I believe has this person helped come up with the criteria. Somebody could correct me if I'm wrong. Professor of the criteria for reparations, the professor of economics at the University of Massachusetts, Boston, and lead author of the study published on Sunday in the American Economic Association's Papers and Proceedings journals. When huge groups of African Americans were denied that opportunity, it speaks to the intergenerational wealth that opened up in part due to this type of land loss, right? So when the Brother Turtle Gang is saying that this land was taken from nations, that part of it
Not
is,
all of it.
that's
Not
right.
all of
This
it.
land was taken from citizens
That's
who are
right.
a part of the nation that is the United States of America. Y'all go
And
in on that, bros. I'm gonna put this link
and
in the chat.
there are some Indian nations, if he's talking about Indian nations as opposed to black people who acquired land and then had that land taken from them by way of its cheating or way of heirs property, like we hear our brother Marcel always talking about. We've talked about heirs property and the problems with that for many black families in the South and usually in the Southern region. We've talked about that and how black people have been tricked out of land, have been chased off of land through violent racist acts, etc. This article goes into some of that, man. And it's not only farmland. See, a lot of this, it appears as if it's only farmland, but you have historical accounts of black families losing their homes to racism, to racial terrorism, being run out of town. Like for instance, a great example is the black town in North Carolina. What's the name of that town? Wilmington, right?
Wilmington.
They ran all of them black people out of that. Wasn't farmland. Those were those people's homes,
That was
right?
a municipality.
A municipality, and the white people took over that municipality and have been in charge of it ever since. That was a coup. That was done by way of a coup, right? And so it's not just farmland. It's not like, to the brother's point where he's talking about people that he know was getting farms and this and that. Black people been had farms. From the time of Reconstruction moving forward, they have been acquiring land and making farms, etc., and losing that stuff at the same time. There's a show right now on the OWN network called Queen Sugar, and I watched that show. It's a show produced by Ava DuVernay, and it's on the OWN network. And what it is about is a black family that owns a farm, and this particular farm is surrounded by a number of other white farmers who are trying to swoop down on them in a lot of different ways, using a lot of different methods to acquire these people's land, to take this land from them. But that is really just a show talking about a lot of the historical things that actually happened to black people in this country. Land that was taken from them, individuals, not nations, individual families who lost their lands through a number of different methods. Right, racial terrorism being one of them, heirs property being another, etc. Go ahead, Josh, you going.
Damn,
You on mute, Joe. All right.
yeah. I had a piece I wanted to share just because, you know, this, I hate when I hear the sentiment that's, excuse me, that, you know, we just need to pull up ourselves by our own bootstraps. That's basically what he's saying.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know,
That's what
we know,
bootstrapperism.
yeah, we heard Dr. King go in on it, you know, when they had Dr. King videos in color, he's talking about you talking to telling a bootless man, how cruel is it? You tell a bootless man to pull himself by his own bootstraps. But
That's
let's
right.
look at how the government didn't have that same approach when it came to everybody else, particularly the people that got to operate under the classification of white in America through the history of through a history of government boosts. So this is actually coming from a report that was put out like 6-7 years ago. I think it was 6 years ago. Road to Zero Wealth, um, and it's by Institute for Policy Studies. And you know, in this, one of the key things that came from this also was the wealth position. Once you take out consumer durables of our people, the American freedmen, and this is, it wasn't even fully disaggregated with the data, but it said that the median household wealth minus consumer durables about $1,700, and uh, and I think it was like 117 or something like that with the median white American household. Not only that, it said that uh, through current trends, that our wealth would be at zero by the year 2053, zero median family wealth in for Black American households. Now, that was obviously before COVID-19. So where a lot of businesses were, you know, damaged. So the people that have been trying to do for self took even further hits, you know. So let's look at the history of government boosts in blocks, right? So first you can start with land grants to colonists. We got the Naturalization Act, which allowed European immigrants to have a path to citizenship. Gold rush land claims, preemptive acts. This is probably one of the biggest ones, the Homestead Acts. The Homestead Acts were, for those who don't know, this was a set of acts where the government gave out millions and millions of acres of land. Dr. King talked about this also, but it wasn't just one; it was several. The first ones were put out, and they were actually meant for us to be able to access first. Uh, this is like the Southern Homestead Acts, where a lot of land that was former Confederate land was to be given out. You know, through in other lands even further throughout the South. Excuse me. But this was 160 acres of land per person minimum. That was the lowest amount of land given away in the Homestead Acts. All the way up to, I think in some places further west, like Nebraska, I think they were giving away 640 acres of land per person and free. You know, we got locked out of all of that largely. Matter of fact, the ones that the land that they gave us, well, I don't even like to use the term gave. The land that we received um, due to Field Order 15, which was the 40 acres, that was reneged on. So the freedmen who went and you know, took everything they had and start building and planting on that land, government troops through President Andrew Johnson just removed them off the land. And so we were locked out of Homestead Acts. And this act is responsible today for, I believe, like 25% of white Americans today can choose, something like that. 25% of white Americans today can trace the origins of their family wealth building just through the Homestead Acts alone. Okay. So you talking about more mass immigration of European immigrants to America. We're talking about home mortgage interest deduction. We're talking now. We're talking about serious affirmative action only for white folks. Black folks are left out. We're talking about government undergirding and bailouts and handouts, basically. You know, they're
handouts.
trading all their
handouts.
They're trading all their consciousness of being hardworking entrepreneurs and white folks for a check, for access to federally backed loans, government-backed loans for Social Security, for labor rights, GI Bill, you know, New Deal benefits, tax cuts for asset owners, and then other groups, even in America, got lifted up. Indian Reorganization Act, Asian Naturalization, Cuban Refugee Assistance Act, you know, Civil Rights Act, and affirmative action. But largely, we know the benefits went to white women and other groups of affirmative action. Community reinvestment, Japanese reparations, amnesty for immigrants. See, let's go look at the blockages, right? The blocks. So, slavery. Now it says slavery in the Constitution. I don't know what they're talking about exactly right here. That's a whole nother thing. Monroe Doctrine, fugitive slave laws. I ain't worried about this other stuff down here. We're not talking about that. Jim Crow laws, Plessy versus Ferguson, right? All these different blockages. Now we go to redlining, farm laws through the USDA. I don't know, man. I don't know about all that, man. That ain't what we're talking about today down there. But I just want to show it's a history. It's a long history of us, things being taken away from us and being, you know, the red carpet in the escalator been rolled out for other groups, you know, particularly white folks. And that's not just white folks, it's other groups. The red carpet being rolled out these days. And so you can't come to me now and say that we need to focus on what do we need to focus on? We need to stop worrying about trading in all this content. Man, them people ain't worried about no consciousness. And they're worried about, I have power we have power coming to our government and telling our representatives what we need, and we need to improve the conditions of our lives here. So government, make it happen. You got people starving through the Great Depression. We got kids dying in coal mines and stuff like that because you want to work them at 10 years old. You got people that's poor. We got people dying of disease. So government, take action. But why is it a problem when we say we need to get power and get the government to take action to help with our problems?
Talk to him, Josh.
That's the thing I don't understand.
Talk to him.
I don't know how anybody this is 2022. How is anybody coming out here not as a reparationist? I mean, if you're a person that comes from the same background we come from, how are you out here with anything negative to say about us seeking a check? Damn right, we seeking a check. Like, if you can ever talk to your parents or your grandparents and hear the stuff that they went through, you looked at the you know, probably how they lived and died, and you don't know too many people that lived a wealthy life. I don't, especially not in that other old generation. Most of
that's right.
I mean, we talking about people that was looking to try to get discount bread at the store and how you can stock up canned goods, and
that's right.
A lot of that stuff, man. I mean, you hear the stories, and then we look at our lives and what we've lived through, and you trying to tell me that you want to argue against seeking a check? I like reparations can't be boiled down to a check.
That's right.
But
there you go. Come on.
Right.
A check is definitely not anything we need to be opposed to. You can't. I mean, it's going to take direct
Nobody's
cash payments.
opposed to checks, bro. Let me
Let me.
tell you something.
Mhm.
During the pandemic, the government sent out checks to
That's right.
Americans to
That's right.
help America get over this particular pandemic, to get through it, to carry Americans through. Everybody and their mama accepted those checks, man. Those
That's
were
right.
government handed out checks that
That's
no
right.
one worked for, no one earned.
That's right.
PPP, no one earned all of
That's
that other
right.
stuff that came with the CARES Act, but they gave them out and everybody accepted the expanded unemployment insurance that
That's right.
came, and the federal the federal add-on to the unemployment that was, man, come on. Those were all handouts. This is the same thing I told Tahaka Bay, because Tahaka was another one of them laws who who was an
Yep.
anti-reparationist. And as soon as the CARES Act happened, and they started releasing all of those unemployment checks and the stimulus checks and the PPP forgivable loans, etc. And he was one of the main ones telling people, "Y'all go ahead and get that money. You go ahead and get that money. Don't feel bad about getting that money." But I say, "Hey, wait a minute, man. I thought you was against handouts, man. Like,
That's right.
what are you talking about?
They
Government
don't want.
handouts. Those checks came from the same government that would pay reparations to American freedmen. So
That's right.
why are you accepting any PPP or stimulus checks or
That's
expanded
right.
unemployment checks if you got a problem with a check? Why you accept a check from any employer? Why?
That's
Why
right.
do that?
That's right.
Or
Let me
even
let me
taking
read.
fiat money with white people's faces on it. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Let me read from The Bloody Shirt. Is one of our favorite books. And this is a book that Brother Sharif Bey is familiar with, because we over here had come to the conclusion that a lot of the sentiment in the Moorish movement is pro-confederate, right? And it's our conclusion, and we've given a breakdown on it in our video when we did the critique of Noble Drew Ali, which is on the channel. Go to the channel, Be the Power, scroll back a few months, and you will find it. So this is a former slave master mad because there's the end of slavery, page 36. It says he went on some time in this vein, this former slave master, complaining with a special bitterness that, quote, the government has taken away all the coercive power from us. A Negro does what he likes, and I cannot inflict adequate punishment. How much does he pay his people? The colonel was asked. No money wages. If you give money to a nigger, he goes and spends it for whiskey. And I have no intentions of making the country any more unsafe to live in than it is at present. And this is the sentiment that has been adopted by black folk. And I don't know what Brother Sharif Bey's background is. Maybe about 2 years ago, we were on a couple threads, and we were asking, like, well, are you an immigrant to this country? Do you come from immigrant stock? And I've heard that the brother may have some Jamaican ancestry. I don't know, because he never answered the question. This is something that has got back to me recently. So a lot of people that come from the islands, and y'all hear us read from certain papers, like the one that I pull up all the time about affirmative action. It says that a lot of people that come from these different nations come with a different cultural views and experiences, and they are in lockstep with the dominant society, meaning white supremacy, meaning Confederates, in their views of us, the freedmen. So, before, I don't know. Yeah, I'll pull this up. Let's pull this up, right? Because it's only a problem when we want reparations. When the Japanese received reparations in 1989, I wondered what the Moorish movement was saying, right? Because I don't think any of us was members in 1989. Were they glad, happy? Did they say that the Japanese should not have received those handouts from the government? Now, I've had this debate in the Moorish movement over the years. So let's pull this up. These are our go-tos, family. Let me put the link in the chat, because I know certain individuals are watching, and our aim here is to educate, because that's what we do here on this channel. Reparations in the United States. It starts from the 1700s all the way 2010 to present. And this is just a list, family. This is a list of all of the times that reparations were paid in the United States. When it comes to us, like right here in 1865, when it was time for us to get reparations with 40 acres and then an additional mule, well, we didn't get it. Instead, we have a long running coup. And right here, the 1866 Southern Homestead Act that Josh was speaking about earlier, ex-slaves were given 6 months to purchase land at reasonable rates without competition from white Southerners and Northern investors. But owing to their destitution, few ex-slaves were able to take advantage of the program. The largest number that did were located in Florida, numbering little more than 3,000. The program failed. The money that we put inside the Freedmen's Bureau, the Freedmen's Savings and Trust Bank, was looted. We worked our fingers to the bone for that money, and those families save a handful. Literally, how they say you could count on one hand and have fingers left over, were the only ones that got compensated. And it was so little that it had no impact on the whole of the group. So reparations are absolutely due our people. Go ahead, Brother Ali. I'm just going to scroll through this timeline from the 1700s that all of these other people got it. But when it comes to our people, we don't get it because we have to take this paternalistic, white supremacist, condescending attitude that we don't need it, that we can pull ourselves up by our bootless bootstrap. Right. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
The United States created a robust middle class with those programs during the during the period after the Second World War, man. The New Deal programs helped to create a robust white middle class, man. Hey, Cynthia, peace, Cynthia, good to see you. Come on, man. People consistently go to government for money, for government undergirding of their communities, of their projects, their businesses, etc. Right? I don't understand why it's our people who have to be the ones who are always consistently questioned as it relates to how we go about doing things, how we are supposed to, as citizens, petition our government, not just vote, right? Because I think a lot of people think you're supposed to just vote, right? Vote for people and then let them do whatever the hell they want to do once they get in office. Because one of the things I don't see is more is talking about you vote for people and then you hold them responsible. Well, if you're going to hold people responsible that you're voting for, part of that is bringing money into your community, bringing money, and resources where the people need them. You understand what I'm saying? And the black community in America as a whole need that, right? And not only need it, but are deserving of it. They're owed it because of all of the different things that we can lay out from not just slavery. And I know everybody, looks at slavery, but a lot of stuff that happened after slavery up until this point. Michelle Alexander points out a lot of stuff in her book, The New Jim Crow.
That's right.
You've talked about that yourself.
That's right.
So if you want, man, we could go on to the next clip because there's some other things that the brother is saying that I think we need to kind of like touch on. And one of the things he was talking about was basically spending power. He kind of went into the spending power piece, and we know that that's another one of the problematic claims that comes up from people who are generally against reparations or what we call justice, right? Let me just make this clear for Moors. I know justice is one of the principles of the Moors, right? One of the principles of the Moors. Reparations is justice work. That's justice work. And no Moor should ever be against reparations and justice work for their own family members. That's all I want to say. We could go on to the next clip.
Yo, we don't shout Dane Calloway out over here, Rise of the God species. Dane Calloway is a super pseudo who has deceived many people and
indeed.
is partly responsible for a lot of the nonsense that we see with these pretendians. So we don't shout that guy out over here at all. That guy's a pseudo. He's a sucker. We've offered him to a debate, and he will not face us because he knows that we will absolutely destroy him. Period. So it is what it is.
Yeah,
Get out our
yeah,
chat shouting out that clown.
yeah. Like, one thing I give these two brothers on the screen credit for is doing a good job of like showing you how Dan Calloway was made. You
That's
know,
right. That's right.
they're breaking down how Dan Calloway came to be,
That's
where he
right.
got his hustle from. So people that watch Dan Calloway, look, most of the time we're not gonna be able to reach them because they're too stuck
Right.
on like the revisionist story. You know, like this dude has a story he's made up that should be like on some type of nonfiction book section. Like YouTube should have something on it to let you know, like, this is not real. This is
That's
a
right.
fictitious. This is a fictitious story.
That's
It's
right.
a revisionist narrative that really should just be made into some type of Netflix, you know.
I wouldn't even make it into a Netflix
Well,
movie.
I'm just saying, I'd rather him do that. At least they have at
Well,
least
yeah,
they'll
okay, I
know.
feel you on
People
that. I
see
feel you
it's
on
a fantasy show
that.
and not take it like they're supposed to be actual historical accounts, actual history that they're supposed to, shape, review how they reshape how they view the world. You feel what I'm saying? So, and it's done damage, but at least they show how Dan Calloway came up with got a lot of this stuff from, man.
Fact.
He doesn't care about the damage he's doing and how he's sucking
Dane Calloway is
energy.
a sucker.
Yeah,
Point blank period.
he's a
He's a
sucker,
sucker.
and he's sucking the energy away from what our younger people could be, energy that they could put towards actually moving us towards justice. So he's
Yeah,
a serious problem in our community.
it's a fact. He's an anti-reparationist, and he's one of the ones who openly peace turtle gang peace brother. He Dane Calloway is one of them people who's anti-reparationist and is very clear and uses a lot of Confederate talking points and rhetoric in his anti-reparations positions. Man, and we've been able to easily spot and identify that stuff.
Indeed.
Yeah,
All right, let's play
yeah,
some
we
more
can
of
go ahead.
this and try to get through this and touch on it. Brother Turtle Gang is in the chat. I don't know how much of the stream he's caught, but we definitely had some issues with you and Sharif's reparations claim. And we said that we thought the conversation was great, speaking to the origin of pretendianism, as we call it, these pretendians. That was great. That was absolutely great. Y'all's reparation stance was extremely, extremely problematic. And we're speaking to that while educating at the same exact time. So let's go to finish out some of these clips. And then Ali, you could get to some of the timestamps. I just want to play up to this one point where Sharif
I think we
calls
kind of already
reparations.
going past them. We getting we
Yeah,
going
I
past
think
them.
we
So
have.
go ahead,
But
go
we're
ahead.
all right. No
This is
doubt.
the thing. The land you're talking about, the resources you're talking about, were stolen from nations. And guess
And we addressed that already, brother Turtle Gang. So when you get the time, you definitely go back and look at that. That land was not stolen from nations. That land, the land that we're talking about, and that the guy that you were responding to in the chat was speaking about, insofar as restitution is concerned, was stolen from American citizens whose nation is the United States of America.
what? Those actual nations are doing just what you're talking about.
See that?
That's the point I'm making.
See that?
Nobody sounds crazy. It is just like you're speaking from a perspective where you're just not fully informed about what's going on.
There you go.
Nations are doing that, right? So whatever nation you're from, whatever land was taken from your nation, you need to be focused and concentrated on repairing your connection with those people, right?
Mhm.
And then assisting and helping them, you know what I mean? If that is the case, what the nation is looking to do, get the land back. Like if that is the actual truth, because each of us as individuals creating groups is not going to get land back.
Right.
So
And
what
let
are
me
we
say this
talking
too.
about?
And let me say this too, dear brother. We ain't get with listen, we're not the Europeans, that became recipients of the Bretton Woods Agreement and the 6-Day War. That ain't us. We're not going to get props for looking good losing. Let me repeat that. Stop trying to get points for looking good losing. Stop with the defeatist mentality and thinking somebody's going to pat you on the head and give you a check. Stop it. You know what I'm saying? Okay, land was stolen. We need to get the land back. All right. How many of us are making ourselves, how many of us can plant? How many of us know anything about farming? How many of us know anything about horticulture, agriculture? Who is actually making themselves useful?
I just want to pause right there, real briefly. That part of it, that was a very shrewd, that's a very shrewd tactic that brother Sharif Bey employed. Right? There's a whole. I'm a part of a Facebook group of black farmers. I mean, there's hundreds of black farmers in this particular Facebook group. Hundreds, right? I don't know how to do electrical work. But if I wanted to learn, I could easily get with an electrician that could come and teach me everything. Like I'm not even talking about going to school to learn agriculture or horticulture, right? But I can get an electrician to come in and that has went through and who is a professional to come in and teach me how to do electrical work. It's just an actual fact. So, I just wanted to kind of point to that part because I kind of thought that was kind of, that was a little funny right there, brother Sharif. Because an admission that the land was stolen, but now you're saying, okay, even if we get the land back, who's going to work it? And it's such a limiting thought process that you all employ when you speak of land solely for the purpose of farming, as opposed to creating municipalities and having government in this power. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, right? Noble Drew Ali said that how would you like to have your own mayor and chief of police? You only do that if you have an incorporated municipality in the United States of America. And that's one of the things that you can do with land, building your police and sheriffs and your courthouses and your businesses
Your strip
along with
malls,
your farms.
your strip malls. You can then
That's right.
once you acquire the territory, you can then bring in other businesses. You can now have Walmart come in. Now you can and bring in Walmart and does what? It brings what? Jobs. You can bring Amazon in if you got the land to do it. You can bring Amazon in. What happens when you bring Amazon in? It brings what to the community? Jobs, right? So this idea of farm, right? Because, like you said, most of the time when people talk about we need land, they are talking about farming, and most of these people are not farmers. These are urban people who grew up in the projects. Most of the times, don't have a damn thing. They have nothing to do with any kind of like a suburban or rural life, right? So they don't know anything about farming. This is not that. It's not even that kind of society. But we can build housing. We can establish businesses, right? With reparations, these are the things that can be done. You can get the land and you can build businesses on those lands, right? You can actually make those strip malls. You understand what I'm saying? Where you put your supermarket in there and you put your, look, I own a Dunkin' Donuts or a Krispy Kreme. I got that in there. You know what I'm saying? I got like Rick Ross got what's the name of those chicken things?
Little
Wing
chicken spots.
stop.
That's right.
Wing Stop. I'm gonna put my wing stops in here. So
Or we
I,
can you can lease the land. If you don't know what to
there you
do with
go.
it, you lease it. You let somebody else pay you for just to be on the land. And,
That's
and
right.
you and you make a residual income. You never
And let me
know. There might be some oil or some gas on the land. Like
and let me say this, Josh.
data
When the
centers.
pan when the pandemic money came out, there was an article in the New York Times that talked about how there was an uptick in black business ownership. and they attributed that to the PPP money, the extra unemployment
That's right.
money. You know what I'm saying? The stimulus checks that people were getting, and the black people, they said, had the highest uptick in business startups during the pandemic because black people, believe it or not, actually do want to do for themselves. They actually do want to be entrepreneurs and owners and producers and manufacturers. And so they try to use that money. And this is the report from the New York Times. Black people started more businesses during that pandemic with that money than anybody else. So it really undermines and goes to show that this idea of, and they're going to get into this later, you're going to see, obviously I'm jumping ahead of myself because I listened to it, they, they're going to get into this idea of if you give people money now, what it's going to do is slip through their hands and it's going to go right back to the other to white people and Asians and this ones and those ones. But the fact of the matter is that has already been proven wrong by
That's
way
right.
of the relief funds that came during the pandemic.
That's
That's
right.
all I wanted to say about that.
That's right. All right, let's go back to this.
Even if you got the land.
Mm-hmm.
How about that? If
Like
you
one of my-
because if we really, really, really believe that, we'd be about the business of preparing ourselves to get it. See?
Mm-hmm.
Can you
We
pause?
just want a handout. That's Negro mentality.
See, so that's
that
the
was
part.
bad.
Yeah, that was
bad.
Brother Sharif. That was not just bad. That was horrible. And you know, to say Negro mentality is about wanting a handout shows that you do not understand how this government works fully. And you know, Brother Sharif Bey, for those that do not know, and I know a lot of you do not know, somebody, this Rise of the God species said, okay, I would love to hear the more side of the story. Brother Sharif is invited to come on. Brother Turtle Gang is invited to come on. We could have the discussion / debate right here, right? So we have no problems with that. We want people to come on, you know. And yeah, Otis is right though with this one. Uptick in businesses were mainly undercapitalized, sole proprietorships with no employees. But
And that's
the
a fact.
point that
And that's why they went right back out of business.
that's right.
Right, but
the
the idea of
that's right.
what I'm speaking to is the idea, like, because what the idea is that we're not really entrepreneur minded, that we're really more dependent, right? Like our people are a dependent people but with this thing expressed during that time, even though those weren't viable businesses able to maintain, what that time period showed was that our people do have the entrepreneur spirit, even though they may not have access to the capital that they need in order to start a viable business and to maintain a viable business. You know, it's just we're really talking about ideology at this point. He said he's waiting for the link.
Yeah, and
All right,
I
Yeah,
don't
not.
think-
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, okay, hold on. Was there any part of it you wanted to bring up on a video real quick, Ali, before? Because I want to bring Brother Turtle Gang on so we can have the discussion. But was there any other part that you wanted to go through before we did that?
Well, I kind of jumped the gun when I said that they mentioned the spending. I kind of wanted to get to that part where Brother Sharif was talking
Let's
about
get
we
to
spent
that part.
$1 trillion, so money is really not our issue.
Okay, well, do you have the timestamp for that?
Nah, you got to let it roll. It's coming up. It's coming up.
All right.
We don't know what the wealth really is. The wealth, people talk about, House Joint Resolution 192, 1933, and the New Deal era, da-da-da-da-da.
And this is what I mean, family, real quick, for those of you who do not know what he's talking about. We do. He's mixing two different things. So, but I'll let it play out.
It exchanged the value, of the from a fixed standard, gold and silver coin, to that of the faith and credit of the American people. It did that. Guess what that did? It made the people the creditors.
Yep.
You're the value. But we still waiting for debt credit devices from Federal Reserve. Come on, man. You're the value. We're the value,
But real quick, make sure y'all go right here to our channel. Watch the discussion that we had with Warren Mosler, the founder of the modern monetary theory, so that you could understand how the government creates money. These ideas, and I may pull that up as well. Hopefully, when the brother Turtle Gang comes on, I'll get afforded the opportunity to pull up the article that we've pulled up on this platform over and over again, how the government creates money out of thin air. So no, you're not the value. The value is in the fact that this government is a monetary sovereign. These ideas are, they come from a lot of white supremacist groups that founded the sovereign citizen movement and was adopted by Moors. And we're hoping that with this session tonight, we can break a lot of these talking points. We hope. I don't know.
Faith and credit, meaning my labor and my trust, is the value. But we don't really believe that.
Okay, so yeah, the Racial Integrity Act was created so white people wouldn't have to worry about intermarrying with Negroes, because the benefits of marrying an Indian had pretty much run out. Like, you wasn't going to be able to get land and all that because the Indians had lost all their land, right? And these were the Europeans that got accustomed to. So they created a lot of these laws, and we think the one drop rule is for us.
I'm confused on that. If y'all can remember to put a pin in that part right there, I don't know
about the one drop rule.
No, not the one drop rule, about the Indians and the white people. Like, the government was giving away millions of acres of land to the white peasants that came over here from Europe, which is why the Midwest is predominantly German American.
I don't think that's what he was talking about, though.
Okay,
He's talking about the Racial Integrity Act.
Okay, all right.
That guy, what's that white dude name from Virginia? The pretendians always talking about.
Plecker?
What's his name? Yeah, Walter Plecker. But let it keep going, because we.
Okay, all right, because that's even off. But okay.
Us. It was for them to be able to identify who to not intermix with.
Come on,
you know what I mean? If they got one drop, don't fuck with them. It's when in doubt, do without. You know what I'm saying? That was something they were teaching to the, you know what I mean, for them to stay away from. It's a whole big. It's a lot. I don't want to get sidetracked, but the remedy that people are searching for, right? I'm gonna tell you a quick story. I had a friend that, we were at Todd's Streets classes. I used to go sit over in his classes. We sat there, took notes. So one of my friends got a ticket.
You might want to jump ahead
and he was fighting it. He's like, I'm fighting it with it, whatever it was. He fought it.
Some of the
so
sovereign citizen tactics.
He's standing on his Moorish thing, and he's going through the whole thing.
But see, I don't want to miss the part that you're talking about. I mean, look. So we can stop.
All right. So let me just say this. You can stop it. I'll just kind of paraphrase it, and then Brother Turtle Gang could expound on it. One of the things that Sharif was saying, I wish Sharif would jump on that way. He could explain it. But what he was talking about was, we don't really have a money problem. Money is not our problem, because we spent $1 trillion or a little better in 2016. I think it was a 2016 report he was looking at or referencing at that point. I could be off on the year, 2016, 2017. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was a report that he was looking at from I think it was Forbes, where he's talking about black people spent like $1 trillion or a little bit over $1 trillion, and so therefore, because we spent $1 trillion, we're really like walking money bags. That money is not really our problem. It's I guess our mindset and how we live our lives or whatever. So, but like I said, he could explain it better, but that's basically what I recall of it.
Now, we know, because we study, and we're very well studied over here, that buying is not a power. First and foremost, production is a power. Having something to buy, I'm gonna mute you out real quick, Ali, because I'm hearing the echo. Having something to buy That's the power. Nike and Jordan have the power. Kraft has the power. Pepsi has the power. The power does not come from the people that consume the products. This is a very flawed way to looking at it. And although we disagree with Jared Ball on several things, he's another one that will not come up on the platform to debate. We agree with the book that he wrote and the premise of that book, which is that the black buying power is a myth and that it was used as a ploy by advertisers in I can't remember if it was the 60s, I'm not sure, but we've all seen the video floating around where there's like a black couple, freedmen couple, who are in like a cleaners or something like that, and it says that black folks or the Negro likes to dress well and he likes to buy clothes, name brand, et cetera, et cetera. So they came up with this myth of black buying power. And even our revered Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. ran with this myth at the time. He didn't understand that this was a marketing ploy. If you are 30, well, let's add everybody for the meantime. 42 million black people in this country, right? You separate the 4.6 million freedmen, so we're about 38, 37 million freedmen in the United States of America. And your money is spent on necessities, toilet paper, rents, mortgage, toothpaste, food, et cetera, et cetera. There is absolutely no, as I'm speaking that, the OG Otis says, what does it matter if you spend 1 trillion, but 65 to 70% of it is for necessities and staples, i.e. food, shelter, transportation, and clothing. One of the things that they add into this so-called spending power is your mortgage that you haven't paid for, your car note. They assign the value of people paying for their car notes. They may still have 6 years to pay the car note off. They still may have 15 to 30 years to pay the house off, but they add the whole value into this particular mythological thing called spending power. Again, we are here to educate today. Brother Sharif Bey and all who have this idea that black people, freedmen, meaning freedmen, if you want to use the term Moors or Moorish Americans, have this great spending power and that it equates to something other than buying necessities. You are greatly mistaken. Brother Turtle Gang, I put the link in the chat. You could jump on at any time. And anybody that feels that Brother Sharif Bey's position is correct, please jump on the link. We just put it in the chat. Yeah, go ahead, brothers. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that you're absolutely correct in the whole buying power thing. It is a myth. It is designed to trick our people into thinking that we don't need the things that we actually do need, which is startup capital, right? Which is the proper amount of startup capital to actually start a viable business and to be able to maintain that business, right? One of the things that one of my cousins did, right? My cousin Purse, I'm going to tell you a short story about his do for self plight, right? He bought a 3-family house. This is when he had first got in. This is before the housing crisis happened, the housing bubble, right? He bought a 3-family house with his own money. Had to fix the house up, do all of the renovations. He did all of that stuff with his own money. And one of the things that he told me afterwards, once he really started to gain a real knowledge of real estate, how to go about acquiring property, the proper way to go about securing resources to do renovations and to properly flip it, because that's what he was doing. He was flipping houses. He was getting property, fixing up the houses, and flipping them. But the very first house that he did that with, he did it with his own money out of his pocket. He didn't go to a bank for any financing. And the thing that he came back and told me about it was, I'll never do that again. I will never use my own money to invest in a business like that. He said that's the wrong thing to do. And so if that's the idea behind spending power, and because you spent $1 trillion without really disaggregating that trillion in terms of like the OG Otis did, what is it that you spent that money on? Was it your rent? Was it the PSCNG, the gas, electric? Was it the water bill? Was it the homeowner's insurance if you have that? Was it the insurance for your condo if you have that? Was it your health insurance? What is it? What is it you spent it on? Your clothes for yourself, for your kids? The food that you got to buy every week to make sure that you and the kids have food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, the clothes that they need for going to school, you know what I'm saying, the gas that you got to put in your car to get back and forth to work, any kind of maintenance that you may have to pay, the auto insurance, you see what I'm saying? Or the licenses, the license fees, the registration fees, the tolls, like I said, the various forms of taxation that you have when you buy in things. So you know, we have this idea that $1 trillion is just like money that was just blown, but these things are being that $1 trillion is being spent on necessities, man.
That's right.
That's survival money for the most part. That's why most black people ain't rich. Most black people ain't living like that. You see what I'm
That's right.
saying? So if having money was something that we didn't need to worry about, you would see people living a whole other lifestyle in large part, and that's just not the case. Josh, what you got?
After Josh, hold on, Josh. After you get finished, we have our brother Turtle Gang in the building. So
Yes,
as
sir.
soon as
Peace.
Josh get finished, we're gonna go to our brother and we're gonna extend this conversation. Because we felt that the conversation that they had about pretending was great, but their issue of reparations was extremely problematic, and that's what this particular live stream is dedicated to. Yeah, go ahead, brother Josh. I think you're on mute, Josh.
Yeah, I just wanted to add some visual context to what Brother Ali was saying, because the myth of some black spending power, buying power, like we don't live in America where it costs to spend a lot of money. Like usually when people say that and they use like the $1 trillion figure, they're juxtaposing that against like some third world country or somewhere where you know I
Mm-hmm.
gave you a quick story. I went to an African country a little under 10 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, and I got craziest haircut. I mean, real nice, clean haircut. I mean, trim, beard, razor, wash, condition, massage my head, my back, shoulders, feet, aromatherapy, and all this kind of stuff. $2.50. Now, how much would that cost if I had to pay American prices? How much do you think that would cost, brother
That's
Naeem?
a
About
spa date.
40, about
That's
40,
a
fifty
spa date.
dollars, depending on where you at. It
Were they
could run you
washing you
$100.
and giving you a massage and
Oh no, no,
massaging
no,
your
no. That's
feet and
about
all that kind of
200. That's about 200,
yeah,
250.
yeah. So you got to
Yeah,
pay
yeah.
like 100 times the price. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So we talking about that $1 trillion got to be spent in America. We can't go and spend that somewhere in the third world. You understand?
That's
So
right.
I wanted to bring visual context with what Brother Ali saying. Yeah, this data don't. Yeah, it's 10 years old, but it's still not going to affect the kind of cost that we got to pay. If anything, you might be adding more on there, right? Cell phone bill is higher, all this kind of stuff. You can look at what are we spending the bulk of our money on? Having some place to live, having
Housing.
some
Facts.
having something to eat, putting something away in case of emergency. We talking about putting some in your savings account. We talking about uh personal care, whether you can say the
Don't
consumerism getting
forget
your head.
transportation.
Yeah,
Large
yeah, yeah.
portion of
Oh
that.
yeah. I'm just going around counterclockwise. But yeah, healthcare, making sure we got a lot of the places where we live is the access to the quality of food is contributing to higher healthcare costs. And of course, environmental issues there. Transportation. I mean, you got to get to work. You got to have a way of making money and a way of getting around, way of getting home. And then we talking about clothes and food and all, I mean, clothes and other services. So I just want to, I don't see what people are talking about. Well, we got this huge pool of money that we supposed to be spending on.
And the context is that you're actually blowing this money on, see down there
That's
where it
right.
says apparel and services, that
Yeah.
little gray slot. That's what they saying, that's the
That
implication. The
the
implication is that
joy,
you're really, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
the
where the
Jordans
Jordans
and the
would be.
gold chains and the rims, right? Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
and that little
But
sliver of gray.
like we
Like, let
supposed
me.
to be naked. Come on, let's keep it
Let,
official. Let's keep it official.
God, bro.
Most of us ain't spending the bread on and stuff like that. And I want to give a little bit more context. This is the income. Now, good again. Let's take it. Let's take into account that this data is 10 years old. I can go and take some time and pull up the current data, but it ain't gonna be too far off. If you just forget the numbers and figures, just look at the distribution. We don't have it. We have a negligible amount in these upper six-figure accounts. The vast majority, this is 20%, over 20%, less than 12,500. We got almost 40%. That's less than, between 12 and 38. The vast majority is in it, and that's income. That's not even talking about wealth. The wealth, forget it. You're talking about a small slither of the wealth in America. We're talking about two to anywhere from 2 to 3% of the wealth, and that's most of that is in the top 70 to 80 percentile. So I mean, I don't know what kind of reality you live in, or that we're trying to think up in the fantasy, but we just don't have it. We don't have it. We're trying to make it in America. We're trying to survive in America, and we're
And
falling
remember,
off a cliff. And there's no way that you can look at the collective to tell us that we're supposed to act ourselves out of and do for self. And when we try to, one more thing, Ali, when we try to say, well, what are we gonna do? We need to act like, we need to know what to do with the land. That sounds kind of like Boyce Watkins to say, well, you need to have financial literacy before you don't need to worry about reparations. You need to worry about financial literacy, because what
That's
you gonna
right.
do when you get to reparations? Well, damn,
That's right.
like there's a whole lot of people that don't have financial literacy, but their family is set up the way they don't have to know all of that. They don't have
That's
to
right.
know. They don't have to
and when
know
Because
all
you
of
you
that.
and when
because you
you
could
got,
afford to pay for an accountant, right,
yo,
Charles?
man, that's what I was getting ready to say. When you got the money, you can go to Charles Schwab and the rest of these cats and have them manage your accounts for
That's
you. You
right.
see what I'm saying?
That's right. All them fancy commercials. All right, so let's bring on our brother Turtle Gang. Brother Turtle Gang, introduce yourself. Let the people know about you a little bit and your then let them know about your reparation stance and why you feel the way that you feel about it.
Say peace and blessings to everybody. Well, Lagoon to
Peace.
walk and oak on Lagoon to walk. Name is people call me Turtle Gang. Obviously, my name is Norris from Jersey. I'm a descendant of a community that is a blend of Cherokee that migrated from Georgia in the 1700s due to reclassification, and Lenape that were pre-existent in New Jersey in the Raritan Valley. The two came together, formed a community called Reevy Town. Anybody can Google it. Reevy Town is historically recorded as a Native American and Black town. Our family participated in the Underground Railroad, helped free over 10,000 slaves coming through the area. Formerly enslaved people, prisoners of war, whatever people want to call them. I don't get caught up in the words, but we contributed greatly to our communities, not only as indigenous Americans, but also as what would be called African Americans. And I'm just here. I've been here for a while, just speaking our truth. That there's a lot of we are represented as African Americans. We are a blend of multiple cultures, and for a long time, only certain cultures was being represented in what was called the conscious community. So I felt like I was somebody who had brought another angle, brought another story. And that's been my thing for the past 10, 15 years. You know what I mean? Now, in terms of, let me just say this, in terms of reparations, like that particular part of the conversation, that was just like a sidebar conversation. That wasn't the main part of the conversation. So really, like, to think that you get my views on reparation from a couple of comments that was from a conversation that had really nothing to do with that, you know what I mean? Like, that's a bit, you know what I mean? Like, that's why I wanted to call in and speak for myself. Now, in terms of reparations, if you really want to know how I feel about that, I made a documentary about 6, 7 years ago called Better Slaves, right? And it addresses all the points that you gentlemen just talked about, Martin Luther King, the Homestead Acts, all that. And I agree with y'all brothers completely. All, like, yeah, like earlier I was talking about a friend of mine who had a court case, right? The point I was trying to make is that his remedy that he sought was in law, right? So for all of us out here who have been faced with different situations, there's remedies for us in law, right? So what you brothers are saying, I agree with you wholeheartedly, but you have to understand that that show that y'all are critiquing, that show is directed at aboriginals. And these are not people who are coming with no law. They talking about bones in South America, and that makes them have jurisdiction over the land here, right? So the conversation
Absolutely.
I'm having with them is not the conversation I will be having with you brothers. Understand? So when I say that the land belonged to the nations, I understand that the nations was dissolved and the land was put into individual family names, and that's how they're able to now trade the land around. But prior to that, when the land was in the nation's names, you had to deal with the nation, not individual families. So that was a part of the process of detribalization, detribalizing people, breaking the land up into families. So now these families can individually settle land anytime they want, right? So I'm talking to a group of people who are claiming to be nations. So if you're talking about reparations for nations, right, that's different than reparations to individual people, right? So the conversation that you're having is very different from the conversation I was having in that small part of the
All
bill.
right, so I do want to just replay it, right? And you can tell us where we're misunderstanding what you're saying. Now, again, let me, because you wasn't on earlier when I said this, I don't believe. Sharif Bey and I have had debates about reparations for years, and he'll admit that he has a stance that has been anti-reparations for the longest. I don't know. I don't know if he'll admit that now. I'm not sure.
No,
The only thing I can tell
he
you,
texted me and said that they're pro reparations, just with certain stipulations or conditions. Is what he said. He
because
said they're not.
what's being said here and what he texted you are two different things. They're definitely not the same. But let me play Turtle Gang's, what Turtle Gang said, which Sharif Bey agree with, because I want to make sure that we got it right. So let's play this.
This out. Now, this is where it all pays off, right? Because what people really are looking for is remedy.
Come
right?
on.
They're looking for remedy. And is the remedy lying in, like, just in the heritage? Or is there an actual remedy that lies within knowing how to navigate through this system and being mindful so you can create your own wealth?
Come on, brother.
Right? As opposed to thinking that identifying as something is going to now be your get out of jail, get rich quick thing. You see what I'm saying?
Brother, you hit it right on the nose. You hit it right on the nose.
So
you
if
hit
you
it
stop
right
it
on
there,
the
you'll see.
nose. As a matter of fact, we say this.
Yeah, well, I went back to this part because I wanted to frame what you said after Sharif
I
Bey.
know. But I want you to hear what I just said. I just talking about a people who was using identity as a get out of free card, jail free card. That I'm talking about a specific people that are identifying themselves as a specific thing, which is Aboriginal. I'm not talking about nobody else, brother. Not no intelligent brothers that know how to navigate. Now, you can continue, but I'm making that's the point I'm making.
Okay, no doubt, no
And
doubt.
let me say this right too. This what I was saying about it. Most of what I took issue with, to be honest with you, was what brother Sharif was saying about it, because I think that as you were talking about the Indian nations, Sharif kind of broadened it, at a certain point. I know you mentioned Indians or Africans, the African slave
And I
trade,
was going to get to that
as
part,
well.
which is coming up next. But go ahead, brother Ali.
Yeah, no, so it kind of expands, and so because it expands and it includes people of African ancestry and slavery, with regard to reparations. So this is where we kind of took issue with it, in the sense of, look, the do for self thing is not something that has worked for our people. We can go all the way back to Booker T. Washington, right? This was his motto. This was Booker T. Washington's like, yo, all we need is this, that, and third. We could do it ourselves. We're gonna work hard, blah blah blah. We can make it happen. It hasn't worked. We've had discussions with different economists. You heard the brother Naheem talk about Warren Mosley. We had on. We've discussed it with one of the foremost economists in the reparation space, and Dr. Derry, about this as well. There's been reports about the fact that the wealth of Black America will decrease to zero by 2053. In the track that we're going on, and maybe even earlier because of the COVID pandemic. You know what I'm saying? And so what we're saying is, at a certain point as taxpayers, and when you say the remedy, the legal remedy, and knowing how to navigate as taxpaying citizens of this country, the Constitution guarantees to the citizens the right to petition the government for redress of grievances. And so at this point in time, this is where we are, right? It's really a justice claim. It's a justice claim. And so that's really what we're talking about. It's not like Negro handouts the way it was being expressed by the brother. That's a very poor choice of words.
That's right.
I would say.
That's why I did not say that. That's why I did not say
but
that.
I do want to play.
Hold on, let me just say
I
this.
know you.
Yeah,
I know
ahead,
you
brother.
didn't.
Let me say
that.
this, and that's why I said navigating through the system, because navigating through the system means you know the system, and if you know the system, you can push the right buttons to get the results you want, and that's what I was getting to, without being contentious, without trying to get into a debate with somebody, because I don't want that on my platform.
Absolutely.
Indeed. So let me just play this, and then we'll close this out and finish the discussion.
Right? Man is the Lord of all the plain and manifest, but he gave up his birthright just to gratify his lowest self. And here we are with all this knowledge and all this consciousness in 2022, and we are ready to sell it all for a reparations check.
We're pushing reparations, right? So, I mean, but let's continue, and then we'll close it out.
Whether it's an indigenous one or it's an African slave narrative one.
Either way,
people looking for a check.
We just want the check.
So when I hear you say that, there is no ambiguity there. It is clear to me what you mean, right? So I don't, you say that we may, or you allude to, excuse me, that we may be taking your words out of context, but when you say or an African American one, people are just looking for a check, then, well, obviously we're going to respond as one of the premier reparationist groups that are pushing for repair for our people. And before you respond, I got a video dating back on this channel. It's still up. 2011, excuse me, that deals with this issue of reparations and why our people need to be repaired. And of course, I was in the Moorish movement at that time, so my sentiment was a little off then. It is way more well refined now that I have, these people back here's works that I didn't know of previously to undergird my understanding. But go ahead, brother.
All right. So as I stated before, this was a conversation that was about something totally different. This was a sidebar conversation that came up. yes, I'm sure I could have picked my words a little more better and been a little bit more precise. But you, brother, and I, we all know about who we talking about, who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the charlatans. I'm talking about the people, you named names like that earlier. I'm talking about the people that are going to mislead our people. You understand? That's exactly what I was talking about. Pardon myself if I was a bit broad and general in the moment to move the conversation along. All right. I could say that. Like I could be man enough to say, okay, that was a bit general. My apologies, but that's not my sentiment. And if we're gonna have a conversation, I could say reparations. I fully believe that indigenous American nations deserve reparations. I believe African nations deserve reparations. I believe the individual families that were stripped, that were forcefully driven from their lands, I believe they deserve it. You understand? I believe people of color, for the most part, deserve something for the oppression we faced. But I also believe that many of our families climbed out of the times that we came through slavery and went on to amass wealth. I know my family is one of them. And I know that as time went on and the civil rights movements and acts came about, our family started to turn their backs on the things that we had created.
Whoa,
You
whoa,
understand?
whoa.
I'm speaking for my family. I'm speaking for my
Okay, from
family
your
in
family.
general.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
speaking for
Because
what I've
that's
seen.
not the reality of
Listen,
all of the
listen,
family. Wait, hold on, brother. Let me
bro,
just say
bro.
that's not the reality
That's
of all of
why
our
I'm
families.
speaking for my family.
Okay,
That's why I'm speaking for my
anecdotal
family.
evidence. Okay, go
I'm
ahead, brother.
speaking for my family, right? I've seen people walk away from not only what our ancestors had amassed in terms of the wealth, you know what I mean, and wanting to continue those businesses. I've seen my family walk away from our traditions and cultures, and a lot of that had to do with the oppression that was going on and opportunities that were being presented in what we would call modern civilization. You know what I mean? But I know we partook in some things on some levels. So, like, I'm just being realistic. I don't know what everybody else's individual story is, but I know on a broad spectrum, I know there's families who have done things and lost them on their own, and I know there's families who never even probably recovered from what was going on. So I just think that it's not one anecdotal boom. That's my honest opinion about it.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, what we do over here, brother, is we deal with the data and the statistics. We try
Mm-hmm.
to never use anecdotal evidence unless it's for a specific reason, insofar as relaying a specific story. But when we're looking at total financial disparity, net worth by race and ethnicity since the late 1980s, excuse me, we see that this blue represents black and that it is being crushed underneath the weight of Hispanic. Represents blue. The Hispanic represents a grayish black. Others represents green and white. We are
Yeah.
still the bottom in this country. So, we want to make sure that we are highlighting these facts outside of our personal stories. U.S. black home ownership rates remain below 45%. Whites approach 75%. We see that black alone, that pink line in 2020, is the lowest of home ownership rates.
Brother, I
Hispanics
covered
are
all this in my documentary. I'm like, bro,
well,
I
and
support what you're
that's
doing. I
okay,
support
cool.
what you're
But I,
doing.
I,
I
I
am
want
not
to
in contention with
okay.
anything. I just wanted you to know that what you're what, and I'm not saying you're maliciously or anybody's doing this maliciously, but I am like I am not in a position to where I am anti anything. What I was speaking about in that was just a brief sidebar conversation. And if I were to have a real conversation about it, it would go very different. All right. Like I said, I put a documentary up. I made it years ago that speaks to all of this. All right. Like, so don't, I'm not in contention with you. I'm not here to debate with anyone. I'm just here to make myself clear. Like, bro, I support what you're doing. I agree with you 100%. That's just the
Thank
bottom
you.
line.
Thank you, brother. We appreciate that,
we
man.
we was we,
Appreciate that.
we was hoping that brother Sharif would jump on,
And let me say
and
this. Let me say this real quick, Ab.
go ahead,
I
brother.
think that just about the video that y'all did. I appreciate 100% all of the breakdowns that you
Oh
guys was
yeah.
doing
Oh yeah.
with regard to the origins of this whole what we call pretendian, the whole
Mm-hmm.
pretendianism that's happening, man. I appreciate that, man, and that needs to happen. Now, hopefully, maybe we could do something together at some point in the
I
future.
reached out to
Yeah,
Lord Act.
let me say the brother did reach out to us.
Hmm.
We definitely would love to have you on to have a
Absolutely.
conversation about that. We need to have a conversation about it because you have other pretendians like this guy named Legendary Top Cap who took your video and tried to do a breakdown of it and tried to separate himself from the other pretendians that are out there pushing a bunch of nonsense. Somebody else we've called out to a public debate, like on Sinetta channel, he won't ever step up. Anyway,
Wasn't
just
he on? Did he come on your program,
Yeah,
Turtle?
I had him on my. I had him on. Listen, I had him on my show. All right, so my whole platform is like all this contention, debating, and everything, arguing. Like I want to create something where people who you know can sit down as men and have reasonable conversation and set an example. That's my whole thing. So one of the first people I had on was Asir because people seem to think I have an issue with Asir because I don't agree with all his
Mm.
information. So I wanted to
Me
demonstrate that
neither.
I could sit down with him and have a real good build, whether I agree with all the things he's saying or not. Hear him out. You know what I'm saying? And so what I've been doing is just that. So Top Cat was somebody who I had contention with. Absolutely. I was on 11-hour, not even a build. I was on one of these little things for 11 hours, and all they did was yell and scream at me. And every time I tried to answer one question, they threw three more
oh
at
yeah,
me.
that's
Was
his
it
mo.
Twitter Space or
Yeah.
Clubhouse or something?
Nah, it was like Aboriginal TV. Like I think the host even like went to work and came back because like for a couple of hours it was just like wild dogs. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? I
Top
had to
Cap
fight
is
them
a
all off.
top Cap
Yeah,
is a
man.
liar. He's a
So
liar,
yeah,
and it is what
all
it
of them.
is. No,
I
I
mean,
feel we
nah,
feel you,
I'm
bro.
not going. Well, let me just say
Well,
this.
we're
Let
gonna
me
say
just
that. Let me just let you know
yeah,
we're
yeah,
gonna say that.
because what I'm saying is I had after all the contention I had with Top
Hmm.
Cat, he came on my show and he was respectful and he didn't say nothing that I felt was disrespectful or out of line. So as a man to man, I gotta respect him on that. You understand? Like, and that's see, my thing is this. I feel like we have a lot of tough conversations that we need to have amongst ourselves, but we haven't built up the cachet amongst each other to have these conversations. So we need to be interacting before we have these explosive conversations so we can build up some type of camaraderie and love for each other so we can have those tough conversations. You understand? That's my whole thing. And I think everybody want to jump into the tough conversation before you've built up any type of, you know, relationship with each other. So nothing's ever going to sit in. It's always going to be war.
In other words, what you're saying is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, basically.
I mean, I just feel like we all dealing with energy, right? And I feel like people who don't like each other, it's probably something they admire about each other. They just got to get to the bottom of it. You understand? Like dealing
Yeah.
with psychology. Like it's some things going on that we're not aware of in terms of energy. And I just feel like if you have enough time to be around somebody, you can really get their energy and you can know if you can really build with them or not. I ain't saying like it's all always going to be good, but if you have the opportunity to talk to people, you can learn more and then, you know what I mean, you can move forward.
Yeah. But I mean, but do you feel like people that are trying to turn this into some, because like you were saying something interesting on the program, talking about the culture, talking about
Mm-hmm.
it being made into a culture or something. And do you feel like the people that are trying to, you know, that tried to create a whole culture or create a cultural wave behind the pretendianism, um, there's money to be made behind that, and they're probably making it.
Well,
Do you
I
see
think
them? If I don't feel like it's anything you really gonna say to make them want to stop that or walk away from that. You know what I
this
mean?
this thing. I think when most people come into it, they come into it sincere, right? But when you coming into something, a lot of times you coming in with an energy that's, you might be a little angry. You know what I'm saying? You finding things out, and people feed into that type of emotion. You understand? And it turns them from what they initially was coming into this for into something else. And then there's people that profit off of that. You know what I'm saying? And right now, we're not even talking about a monetary profit. People is happy with just the likes and the shit like that. It's not even about money no more. This shit then disintegrated to just a carnal level.
That's true. You're right about
Like
that.
motherfuckers just want likes, bro. They don't even they're not even
Yeah,
monetizing what's going on. And then there's the few that monetize shit and they become legends and they misguiding people and they send them in the wrong direction. And it happens generation after generation. So
that's
what
a
is
fact,
happening
man.
now? So what we doing about it?
Hey,
And
have
that's
you ever had a conversation with Dane? Have you been able to get him on?
why would I talk to Dane Calloway?
Hey, listen, man. We've been trying to get that Joker on our platform, man. He avoids us like the plague, man. He
He's
didn't
a
want to have any
sucker.
parts
That's
of.
why.
He
He's a
Listen,
didn't want to have
sucker.
any parts of this.
listen, I hear people say shit, right? And I know as soon as it come out their mouth, they dead wrong. I know they lying. And then they double down on it, triple down on it. And every time they do that, it just moving further and further from the truth. And I'm not saying I'm the truth, but I stand on the truth. You know, like it's
Nah,
you see
bro.
what I'm
I'll say
saying?
you're the truth. When it comes to this, I watched a few of your things, man, and I know you from over the years, paying attention to seeing you in different Moorish groups and videos and things. You're the truth. What's your cousin's name? I think Hawk. What's his name?
Two hawks.
Two Hawks. Man, y'all be going in with that, man. We had another a couple of family members. They were actually Chickasaw Freeman, right, y'all? Chickasaw Freeman we had on. They was the truth too, man. And a brother named Ian, and what's the sister's name? I forgot her name. I know hers.
Denied.
Janai. Man, the
Yeah,
truth, man. They real. I like listening to people who are real and can really go into their family history, and it's real and it's not some made up pseudo, like, oh, we really the Olmecs and we really a bunch of South Americans and all of that
yeah.
kind
I
of
don't
kooky shit, man.
backpacks full of bones and shit. Well, when I recently heard that Lord Abba found he was a freedman, you know what I mean? I've known Abba for a while. I don't know if he remember. We've had multiple
Oh yeah.
conversations.
We
Um,
had several. We had conversations by phone. I
yeah,
definitely
by
remember.
phone. Yeah, yeah,
Definitely.
yeah.
That's right.
Okay, so you know. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
so
Oh yeah.
and this is what I mean. Like, I don't agree with everything Abba say, but I don't got to. Why do I have to? Why do we have to agree with everything I say? Why can't we just deal with what we agree on and build
But
something from there?
let me say, brother, right? Freedman is a status, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
said this earlier, and I wanted to preface the conversation with that particular
Can I just say
understanding.
this real quick? Can I
Yeah,
just say
yeah,
this
yeah,
real
brother.
quick? I wanted to have you on the show because I respect your level of intelligence and research, right? And this Freeman thing is something that, though I'm aware of, I haven't dove in.
Okay.
See what I'm
Let's set
saying?
that up.
So,
Let's set that
so
up, brother.
that's what I wanted to have you on
Mm-hmm.
to convey this to me. Plus, I know something about you,
Mm-hmm.
so I
Mm-hmm.
know. You understand? I
That's
know what
right.
I'm hearing when I'm listening to you.
That's
You
right.
ain't just
That's right.
somebody I ain't never had dealings with. So
That's
that was
right.
the point of me wanting to have you on the show to hear about your Freedman experience, your family experience. Because
Mm-hmm.
these are the conversations I want to have with people. Because this is what I got in common with people. I got a family experience. You got a family experience. We
That's
can
right.
start there.
That's right. Yeah, let's set it up, man. Let's go.
All right.
I'm here.
You
We
want to do it on YouTube or Twitter Space?
Well, I'm still trying to grow my little thing. So I want to do it on my YouTube, but we can do it on multiple shits. You know what I mean?
That's cool. That's cool.
I mean,
and
Yeah, man, I
the
respect you and your cousin, man. I just want you to know that. This what we were talking about was really more academic in the sense of we just didn't agree with the position being taken about reparations specifically. All of the
yeah,
other stuff with the Indians, what y'all doing, man. Come on, man, excellent. I told Sharif that.
yo,
I texted that to him. excellent breakdown because a lot of it we already know. We know the
Yeah.
history of Empress Verdiachi. We know the history of CM Bey. We know the history of the Washita and Ali Muhammad and Taj Tariq Bey and Dula Mosley
I
Bey
think
and
they
Masma
forgot
Riot,
Yafa Bey.
Yafa Bey.
They
We
forgot
Yeah.
Yafa Bey.
That's
remember
why I
all of
wanted
that.
to have more people in the conversation that to fill in these holes. Because these people don't realize that they think they aboriginal or whatever, but they drawn from bits and pieces of philosophies that came before us. And they ain't really got nothing to do with what you claiming to be. You know what I'm saying? So that was my whole thing.
Absolutely.
But yeah, and listen, listen, my lane is this. Anything outside of this is my opinion. You don't even gotta take it serious. I'm gonna be real with you. You know what I'm saying? Like anything outside of what me talking my family stuff and you know what I mean, what we doing in terms of nation building here in Jersey, New York, anything outside of that is my opinion, bro. Like don't take me to word on it. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed, indeed. So, you know, we wanted to have the conversation tonight. Again, I know Sharif Bey's position on reparations. It is a debate that we have had over the years, and while I was in the Moorish movement. And so when I hear him saying what he's saying, particularly, then I know that he's shooting at reparations in and of itself, right? This isn't based on some new wave. You know, people think that I just transitioned into this reparations thing. I got a whole channel up. I have a whole channel up on reparations. And you know, one of the things
You
that
mean a video?
a whole video. I got distracted. I seen Grim coming in the background. I have a whole video up on reparations that I
Mm-hmm.
did in 2011 speaking about this topic. I've maintained before that video, I've maintained most of my life that our people need reparations, period. So, and Sharif Bey and I have had several debates about this topic. It's just a fact. And so we were hoping, you know, that the brother would come on and you know, have the discussion, but it is what it is. Maybe we could get a replacement one day and talk about a different subject from someone up in Syracuse. A brother by the name of Ishmael Bey. Come through, Ish. Come through. We waiting for you. We waiting for you with open arms. You ain't legendary top cap. Cap. Okay, so brother Grim, you
Peace.
what's peace, bro?
Peace, man. Hey, I got tied up taking care of business. So I know I'm tuning in late. I just want to say peace to all the Freedmen family. Peace to everybody out there, man, in the world, man. Peace to the universe. That's what I'm dealing with, man, right now. And I know I missed a lot, brother, but I know y'all go catch me up to speed, man. So I'm a fall back and I'm a comment as necessary because I got some things to lay out. But y'all
Well,
go in, bro.
we're at the end. you
Yeah,
we're at the
you
end.
pull the
I pulled
Josh
it
on
You
us.
down.
pulling Josh. Yeah, you pulling the Josh on us right now. So we're at the end of the discussion. But if you had anything you wanted to share, you know, before we got off, then definitely go ahead, brother.
Hey, I want to say this, man. A lot of people come at us, man, with certain things, man. But me, you, Ali, you know, Logic, Josh, man, we come with this information, bro, with sincerity. We don't be coming at people because we don't like them. You know what I'm saying? Or we don't say things to people or whatever to say, hey, I'm gonna beat them to this punch or that punch to basically clout chase, man. Everything that we do, man, is like in sincerity to this thing, man. And the bottom line is one thing that everybody's going to hate, man, is the truth teacher. The truth teacher basically, man, has no friends. And, that's a reality that, even in this stage of my life, man, that it just takes some getting used to. The truth teacher has no friends. And see, with all of this pretendianism and all of that stuff tickles people fancy and basically, you know, allow them to exercise their ideals in inferiority, if you know what I mean, you know, their inferiority complex. Now, the whole thing of that and y'all know we built on this, the whole thing about the handouts, right? And I know y'all went into that. And, you know, this is no insult to nobody, but it's easy for that brother to basically say that this whole reparations thing, you know, when it does take place, handout, you know, it's not based in any foundation of truth. But the bottom line, y'all know what I'm about to say. That whole school, because I was there with it, I believed in it, and we all believed in it at some point. But that whole school of Moorish science itself is rooted in a pro-confederate ideology. So with pro-confederatism, you can't help but to take, and a lot of these guys may not even know this on a conscious level. You follow what I'm saying? But the spirit of Noble Drew Ali's words basically conferred a degree of confederatism on those guys, and they don't even know it. They may think that they're fighting for their people, and because we thought we was fighting for our people in teaching that information, and we never even really delved into the fact that to blame your people for, of course, you're gonna say that reparations. Listen to me closely. Of course, you're gonna say that reparations is a handout when your spiritual leader taught you that our people was to blame for Jim Crow. Y'all follow what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah, oh
yeah.
yeah,
That's a part of the teaching. That's a fact.
that's right.
Right. So of course those guys are going to take that kind of stance. And we know, and for those who follow us know, we did an in-depth video. So I'm not going to revisit that stuff. You know, find it on the BTP channel. You know, we basically refuted all of that stuff. And Ali basically was breaking down how that article he was like, one of the things, you know, being born here does not make you a citizen. I mean, we broke all of that stuff down, nationality laws at the time and stuff like that. But those teachings are rooted in a self-hate, self-blaming, victim-blaming ideology. So uh, of course, you know, he's going to have that stance, and a lot of them are going to have that stance, and that whole doctrine places upon you a false sense of security. And what I mean by that is that it tells you that you're not a certain thing. And it tells you that you're not this, you're not Negro, you're not African, you're not Ethiopian, you're not this. And it makes you think that you are better than your freedmen brothers and sisters who come up in this thing with you. You know, a lot of them guys have disdain for their own family members. I'm not saying him, but, you know, a lot of these guys have disdain for their own family members because, you know, they think they have a body of knowledge that's superior when in actuality they don't. So, I mean, I'm not going to drag on and belabor this thing. I'm pretty sure, you know, y'all cut this thing up into shreds. But the bottom line, man, is y'all know how I feel about the teachings and that effect that the teachings had on people's lives. And you just judge a book. I mean, you judge a fruit, excuse me, judge a tree by the fruit it bears. And, you know, that tree bared a bunch of lies, bared a bunch of liars, you know, and some people might be listening and not like what I say. But go back to the show. We broke this stuff down, you know.
Hey, Andre Williams said he meant short-sighted, not short-sighted. But Andre Williams L is in the chat. He said he thinks that you're being short-sighted, brother. Well, what is your response to that?
I put it like this. I can't be short-sighted because I've delved into this thing way more than he did. You, me, Ali, Logic, or Josh came in a little bit later, man. But we delved into the to this thing. A lot of the stuff that those guys know now, they wouldn't even know if it wasn't for people like you and me. Them dudes wasn't on scholarship and stuff like that. No, Sharif Bey was, but a lot of them guys wasn't on scholarship.
Think he went out, right?
You went out, Graham.
I'm going to be short.
There he is.
How am I going to be short sighted? Let's look at it like this. When you're in elementary school and they teach you the song A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? They're teaching you baby steps, right? So you can learn how to read. So when you read something and somebody tells you that that the freedmen was the problem and the problem that caused Jim Crowism. I mean, how short sighted could that be? It's just plain. It's written in plain text in his writings that we were to blame for Jim Crowism, and really the problem lies with Williams Ale and a lot of those people, and which brought me to this conclusion because I was a grand sheik in that madness. And what brought me to that conclusion and brought y'all to the conclusion and brought us to where we are today is the research that we put into it, trying to correct the errors of the movement. And the reason that them guys can read that stuff and then turn around and say we're being short sighted is because those people don't understand what happened during Reconstruction.
That's right. That's right. And most of our education has, as American freedmen, been about the Reconstruction era. And we owe some of that to being not just in the Moorish Science Temple of America, but being in the Moorish movement itself, right? With the sovereign citizen nonsense. After a while, we start just doing our own research and start looking at this stuff like, no, this is just not true. I'm sorry, fam, but this is not an actual Supreme Court case. In fact, this was a district court case, or this just doesn't exist. So we started to look at a lot of this stuff. And then we started to look at the teachings of Noble Drew Ali, particularly the things that he said around Reconstruction, where he said that, I mean, I can pull it up, man. I can pull the direct quote up where Noble Drew Ali blamed us for Jim Crow and segregation. And I used to say that, let me see.
That's funny. Go
Wait,
ahead.
I used to say that if I haven't seen anything wrong yet. I have a whole bunch of radio shows that I did that are still up on Blog Talk Radio under the title Moorish Science Radio, and several videos that are on this channel where I said I didn't see anything wrong yet. I always left open the possibility. Why? Because those same lessons teach us what? That the clearest of human knowledge is but blindness and folly. And I took those things
Wow.
to heart. So, I
Wow.
made sure to frame it that way. I'm trying to find, let me see, I'm trying to find,
Well, it's a, peace, Michael Jordan. It's a divine warning by the prophet for the nations is where we kind of draw that from. Like if you look at the divine warning by the prophet for the nations, in there he blames he blames who we call the freedmen for Jim Crowism, and the reason we're saying it's the freedmen because the freedmen are the people who were emancipated from slavery in 1865. Jim Crow starts around 18 what year? 77, something like that. Or what year
I
was?
believe so.
So these are freedmen at this point, and what happens is he says in the divine warning by the prophet for the nations that that it was the acts of our people that caused Jim Crowism and everything that harms human beings on earth. This is what the man said. This is his. Unless the divine warning is not his, or not his words, then that's what he said. So he does victim blame the American freedmen for the conditions of terrorism and racism that they were forced to endure coming out of slavery. He does blame them for that. He blames them for those particular laws, black codes, and other things that were put in place to oppress those American freedmen after being emancipated. He does blame them for that. Go ahead, bro. I see you got it pulled up.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just want to go through. Yeah, real quick, Grim. Just let me read this real quick. The 14th, this is what Noble Drew Ali said. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and South in unit, placing the Southerners who were at that time without power within the constitutional body of power, right? I'll read the whole thing. And we agree with that, right? I believe that we all agree that that did happen, that they had to agree to that the Southerners had to agree to these amendments in order to become a part of the Union. They had to sign the ratification, and y'all can help me. I'm kind of saying it wrong. As states, they had to
Yes.
agree that the 14th Amendment was in fact law, right? Even though some states ratified it much, much later, they had to agree to that. Now, it's what he said afterwards, right? He says, and at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was in force since 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be equal and free, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens.
Wrong.
And that's wrong, right? And we've come to that conclusion based on our studies. Y'all want to touch on that? Break it down real quick. And if anybody want to have this debate, just come through. Let's
Conversation. We ain't
okay,
debating.
the conversation. My bad. Conversation. My bad. All right, so that's just not true, right? The application of the 14th and 15th Amendments, right, to add the term salvation, that's a little superfluous, right? When we think about why the 14th and 15th Amendments were established in the first place. And when you go back and you look at the history of the Bill of Rights, when you read the Anti-Federalist Papers in conjunction with the Federalist Papers, you get an understanding of why the 14th and 15th Amendments were absolutely necessary, right?
That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually had this conversation with Sharif in the past. He may or may not remember, but I've talked about the significance of the 14th Amendment outside of Section 1, Section 2, 3, and 4, and how important they were in the disabling of the insurgent anarchists who attempted to overthrow the United States government. You see what I'm saying? It was supposed to disable them even as they were brought back into the Union from being able to hold political office, even though those acts of amnesty allowed them to then, be able to once again gain political power in the United States. But the 14th Amendment was designed to disable those people, and that was the importance of it. So, but in any case, man, outside of the Section 1, which is the main part that most Moors look at, they look at the first part of the 14th Amendment. The other sections they don't really pay any attention to. Those other parts were very, very important. Section 2, 3, and 4, very important parts
That's
of
right.
that particular piece of law.
And I want to read this part real quick, Grim, and then you come in and go in. He says, so I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with a divine plea to all true American citizens. This is distinction here. True American citizens to help me, and we broke this down in the video. I put it in the chat. To remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way. And without understanding, they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment, in which they themselves try to force. This is where the problematic language comes in, that they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of actions, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they
Mm.
fought the Southerners for all these great misuses. But I have traveled in the South and have examined conditions there. And it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. So we see here that Noble Drew Ali, uh, he says that no nation on earth today will recognize them. That's not true when we look at, especially in our time that we're in now. Brother, our brother Grimm has been a part of the United Nations reporter. Well, I know there's a word that they use.
Special reporter.
Special reporter. He's been a part of that conversation live with his fez on. And the United Nations came back with the determination that the American freedmen, the black people, the Negroes here, are in fact due reparations because of what the harms that was done to us by the European here, using that term, aka white folks. So when Noble Drew Ali says that in their present condition of their endeavorment, which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world, the only thing, when you go back into the history, that we were trying to do was to live the American life. We had established townships all over this country, freedmen villages all over this country. In New York City, Brother Ali has pulled up the information. What was the name of it, Brother Ali? What did they
Man,
call it? The land
there
of the
was
blacks?
several,
Several of
right?
them, right?
And what is known today as the Village, Soho, parts of the Bowery, right, was actually called the land of the blacks until the English took over, from conquered New Netherland from the Dutch. When they conquered New Netherland from the Dutch, they started to create laws that stripped those people of their rights and their ownership and their ability to even pass down land ownership to their offspring. So the ability to inherit land was stripped from them. And so when New York took over the province of New Netherland from the Dutch, they took away those people's rights and their land. And so now what you have is Washington Square Park, you have the Village, you have Soho, you have NoHo. Even on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, those lands over there was taken from those people. Same thing with Seneca Village in Central Park in the early 1800s. Freedmen established what is known as Seneca Village, and through eminent domain, New York City took Seneca Village from those people. They forced them out even by police power. The police came in with nightsticks and beating those people and made them get off of that land, and they took that land and created what is today Central Park. So this happened in a number of places. There were villages. There was places out in Queens, Naheem. Jamaica, Queens was a
Mm,
freedmanville. A lot of people
mm-hmm,
don't know that. In Brooklyn, out there near Crown Heights, there was a place called Weeksville. It was established by a freedman by the name of James Weeks, who was trying to establish a community of black owners, homeowners, and property owners, so that they would have the ability to be able to vote in New York as citizens, because the 1821 Constitution, I believe, of New York, stripped the rights of those freedmen so that they put on a $250 property ownership requirement for them, and widened the elective franchise for all white men. So and there was no limits on their ability to vote, but they put a $250 property ownership requirement on the freedmen in order for them to even be able to vote. And so what James Weeks and the others who established Weeksville in Brooklyn was trying to do was use that as a way for them to be able to access political power by making them homeowners and having a safe haven away from the barbarous whites in Manhattan. So they established that out in Brooklyn.
Hey, I just want to say real quick, the Freedmen philosophy is the new Moorish science.
Talk to him, Grim.
And
talk to him.
The thing about it, and look, this ain't no personal shots, man. I'm about truth, man. People are about falsehood and slanting narratives. So when people come with the truth, what ends up happening is that they start personal attacks. So with that being said, I just want to say this. Like a lot of this information that we have, Brother Sharif, he know about a lot of this this information, the reconstruction, all of that kind of stuff. And the reason he wasn't really even addressing most of that stuff until he was informed about a lot of that stuff by Chuck, by Ali, So, and Ali did research. I did a lot of research, and Ali was sharing that stuff with him. So you'll see in some of his presentations in the past, hey, could y'all do me a favor? Because I'm not able to do it. Pull up the picture of the reconstructed government of Louisiana. If possible. And you'll see Oscar James Dunn, I think PBS Pinchback, and y'all will see how the seats of the government was turned over back into the hands of the freedmen. So with that being said, if y'all can see those pictures, those are people that the MST of A would call Moor. That's us. They're really freedmen. Those people are freedmen. And they understood and proclaimed their status or whatever as freedmen. So you'll even see in Brother Sharif Bey some of his he'll come and pull that up. So with that being said, we were put into power in these reconstructed governments, right? And given authority and given power. So when you go back to some of the stuff Naheem was talking about, Noble Drew Ali in essence was saying that these people given power and authority to reign over these states and given the seats of power in government, he basically saying those people had no right to do that. In essence, in those words that he was, but the bottom line is when Brother Sharif talks about these things, a lot of those, because I'm the one that gave Ali this picture and showed Ali this picture, and by I guess proxy or whatever, Ali shared a lot of this information with him. A lot of this stuff we was going on. I remember we did that Blog Talk Radio show when we was basically debunking like the 1320 stuff.
Oh yeah.
A lot of this stuff was shared. A lot of that stuff was basically shared on that show. So we contribute a lot of stuff to try to correct the errors of that movement, man. But a lot of that stuff, man, he got from us. You know, don't get me wrong, he a bad dude when it comes to certain information, but certain information he gave to without credit. You know, so like I said, this ain't no personal attack against nobody. This the truth. This the truth. And the reason I'm framing this stuff this way is so that the listening audience can understand that, you know, when they encounter these people that are called Moors and Moorish American, basically those people come with the hodgepodge of information, which is truth mixed with falsehood. And that's exactly what that article is by Noble Drew Ali, truth mixed with falsehood, man. And me and Naheem, we get into it all the time about certain things, and I be beating Naheem head in with this stuff. You know what I'm saying?
That's funny.
My brother, my brother, they don't give this brother credit, man. They don't give this dude had an enormous amount of respect for Noble Drew Ali, one of the most renowned scholars. If y'all don't believe me, just look up the books, the papers, the writings. Naheem is being cited in the works of college professors. You follow what I'm saying? But I'm saying all that to say is that this brother loved that information. And we're not saying the historical stuff about the Moorish stuff is wrong. What we're saying is that the teacher came with something that was not right and exact, but engrafted the Moorish history and the Moorish connection to something that was false. You follow what I'm saying? The only thing that I can equate it to is bucking the preacher. When the preacher on the movie, the guy who not Sidney Poitier, but the role that Harry Belafonte played, he came in the guise of a religious person, but he really wasn't a religious person. He was just somebody trying to survive. So when his master died, he just basically took on the preacher identity of his master so he can make moves or whatever in the world without having to deal with certain things that other people of our kind at that time had to deal with. And I kind of equate Noble Drew Ali to that role. So freedmen are Moors, so to speak. I don't really want to go there, but basically what you do is you kind of hear the truth, but the truth is mixed with the lie. And this whole, to me, this whole Freedmen demonstration, y'all, and I'm going to fall back after this. This is the really continuation of where our people supposed to be at. You know, Drew flew the flag, the American flag. That was right. Drew flew the Moroccan flag. That was wrong.
That's a fact.
Drew said we was Moors in that context. But in other contexts, in regards to the history of the connection, he's 100% responsible for pretendianism by certain words that he said. And I know y'all probably went into all of that stuff. Y'all
not really. Correct. Not tonight. We didn't go into it too much.
Right.
I don't think we did, right?
No.
Nah.
No, but he's the father of pretendianism. And the reason why pretendians don't necessarily claim the Moorish thing is because they don't like the Islamic aspect, but they take the whole Aboriginal indigenous aspect and run with it. So they're not quote unquote Moors, they're Choctaws or Washitaws or Chickasaw.
Cherokees.
Right. You know, so I'm just saying
the Lenni Lenape Moors.
Yeah. You know, so they won't be attached to the religious part of it per se. So, you know, brother man brought us some stuff, man, that really caused a whole lot of confusion in this whole thing that we really like dealing with right now. And this ain't no disrespect. I'm not saying this in hate. I'm not saying this to cause any division. But the bottom line, man, you got to analyze the thing. And this the last thing that I want to say, man, that I'm gonna leave it, bro. I'm good, bro. I just wanted the context that those people, and he's not the only one. There's another popular YouTube type guy who say that stuff is handouts. But and I don't want to say his name, but the thing about it is that of course they're gonna say this stuff is handouts because that information is rooted in the pro-confederate ideology.
And that's a fact. And we've touched on that in the past, that this thing is, those claims that Noble Drew Ali makes, I mean, they can't be reconciled with the historical facts. You can't say that our people fell from the constitutional fold from government. You have to say what actually happened, which was we were pushed. We climbed up a ladder called mobility. And when we got to the top, there was a Klansman fully robed that said, "Get out of here, nigger," and kicked you back down and kicked you all the way while you were on the ladder. You just fell back. Boom. So this idea that we just fell away from the constitutional fold of government. When we look at the picture that we just had up with those Louisiana freedmen, it's just not right and exact. It's not right and exact. It's something that Noble Drew Ali got wrong, and we have to reconcile that. We have to reconcile that with the history, and we have to correct that unless we become Barato Arabo in those lessons, which teach, when he's having a discussion with Jesus, where it says, "Do you know not that man knows naught by being told?" He knows nothing. And most of us were told this, and I am guilty of that. We carried it along and we perpetuated it. We made up excuses for it. We said that our people were going to juke joints and things and things like that, right? And that was the reason why we fell from the constitutional fold of government. This was just false.
And the sad part about it, bro, is a lot of them people snuck over the bridge and came to the juke joints with us.
That's right. That's right.
A lot of them Europeans was right. European Americans was sneaking over the bridge, sneaking under the thing, hanging in the juke joints with us. They was Ali probably know about this history. They was all hanging out in the clubs in Harlem, having a blast.
That's a fact, man. That's a fact. They had man, two of the most famous Harlem nightclubs, well, it wasn't really nightclubs. Clubs. The Cotton Club, right? Which everyone knows. Both were on Lenox Avenue. The Cotton Club, and then like one block down was the Savoy. Both were right on Lenox Avenue. Big clubs. That used to have a lot of traffic, and but the Cotton Club was a white club though. Like blacks could only like perform in there. They didn't let them just like come in there to hang out and shit. Yeah, now Lenox Lounge was an actual like a lounge. You know what I'm saying? But the Cotton Club, these were clubs with like stages. It had a stage and all that. And yeah, man, that's what they used to be at. The white ones used to be there. And I believe at the Savoy, there was another one on 7th Avenue that they just, like within the last few years, tore down the remains of the building, and they built like this condo, this like new construction there, condo joint. I can't remember the name of the one that was on 7th Avenue. Jeez. But anyway, that was another one the white people used to go to as well. A lot of them things were in Harlem. You had a lot of theaters and like these big clubs and stuff like that, and a lot of things are gone now.
Indeed, man. And that's the bottom line, man. Like this for me, man, this whole freedmen thing and us as the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen or whatever, and this right here, this is the kid in caboodle and everybody's problem. Like, I mean, even with the connection to say that you're a Moorish American or to say that you are a member of the tribe of Shabazz, and I'm about to get in trouble, y'all. All of that to say that you're a Choctaw, Chickasaw, Frickasaw, Washita, they dug the mound. All of that stuff, man, is because we let people take our heritage, man, and make
That's
us
right.
ashamed of being the real, true, lost found nation of
And
freedom.
let me just add, Grim, this isn't a shot to the people that are actually Choctaw and Chickasaw,
Right,
Muskogee and Freedmen. This isn't a
right.
shot. This is to the
Shout out
people
to
that
Ian
have
and
a.
Janai.
That's right. This is a shot to those people who claim that when they are not.
Yep. And that's the bottom line, man. Everybody want to escape. It's escapism. And
Mhm.
people are afraid to be freemen. And the whole thing with the whole handout thing, everybody come to hand out. That's what they call they have lobbyists for different social groups and ethnic groups or whatever. That's how they get their slice of the pie, by going lobby Congress and holding people feet to the fire and holding people responsible for getting resources and stuff in a community. But when we, the people who built the nation, do the same thing, somebody, mostly our own people for the most part,
Mhm.
uh, d- portray this thing as if it's some kind of a handout and we're weak and we're begging or whatever. Nah, I mean, that's just like saying that somebody who hit you in a car in an auto or vehicle accident, and when it's time to pay up, they tell you, "Hey, man, you begging me." Nah, it's tort. It's tort. What they call it,
That's
tort.
right. That's right.
Nah, you
Tortious
owe me.
claim. That's right.
You owe me. And that's the bottom line, man. Peace and love to all the freedmen out there, and to spread this freedman message far and wide, man. You did a lot, Naheem, bro. I'm gonna stop, man, real quick. I know I said I was gonna stop, but Naheem, bro, I give you credit, man, and I give all BTP, Logic, Ibrahim. I forgot to mention Josh. Man, I give y'all brothers credit, man, for spreading this message, man, far and wide, man, about this whole Freedman philosophy thing, man. And I know this thing is for you, brother, man. I'm gonna tell you that straight up, bro. This thing is for you, man. And a lot of people may dislike you or dislike the whole situation, brother. But at the end of the day, man, you are 1,000 times successful. We got freedmen everywhere now.
We
From
got
the
candidates.
we got freedmen candidates. Matter of fact, not only do we got freedmen candidates, we got freedmen candidate giving them hell.
That's right.
You know
With the education they got right here from Be the Power.
exactly. So,
That's
man,
right.
I want to and I want to shout out Morgan too, who did that space for us. Man, we might have to take that space and turn that so
Yeah,
the
Morgan.
YouTube
Shout out
listeners,
Morgan.
yeah, the YouTube listeners could hear that space if we can get a copy of that space, because a lot of important history and information about how this Freedman thing came about in these modern times is on there, man. And I want to shout out all the freedmen, the U.S. freedmen, all the freedmen that's out there, man, all the American freedmen that's out there, man. This thing right here, this is the new science, man. All
That's
that
right.
other stuff is obsolete.
That's right.
Morocco is not coming to your aid.
That's right. There will be no brothers that come from the east. It will be us right here. Them people over there don't even like us.
Morgan in the
Point blank.
building. What
That's
up,
right. Shout out to our
Morgan?
sister Morgan. Them people don't even like us over there at
Yo,
all.
remember that video? The sister, it was like a black chick, it was an African chick. She was like asking this dude about African Americans, and she was like, do you feel? What did she, well, she said, ask him some shit about how he feels about us as, their
I know
brothers and
exactly what you're
sisters.
talking about.
That nigga was like, they are not our brothers.
They are not
They are
our
not
brothers.
our brothers.
They are their own thing. They are their own creation.
I would say he's right though. Like a lot,
He was
people
right. To
use
be
that
honest, yeah, that's
terminology.
right. He was right.
They use that terminology, brothers and sisters, loosely, right? Because that's just a
Mhm.
Black American thing. Hey,
That's
brother,
right.
my brother, 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 brother. But the truth of the matter is, Africans, being that, like, when you do the DNA, you see that you share genetics with West Africans and stuff like that. Those people will be more considered like distant cousins. They're not
Mhm.
brothers of ours. They will be considered distant
Like
cousins if you want to be
distant
technical.
cousins.
Yes,
That's right.
technically, they're distant cousins. Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
right. So, we wanted to come on, and really the purpose of tonight's stream was to give an education, get back to some of the basics of what we actually do here at Be the Power. You see, we don't have thousands and thousands of people listening, but we have the education that really, bar none, is untouchable. And we've had to make adjustments, right? What the lessons say: the wise man doubts often and changes his mind. The fool is obstinate and doubts nothing and knows all things except his own ignorance. And we are a product of the wise man who have doubted often and have changed our minds. And that particular bar, it resonates with us. And you can see it with our works. You can see it with our teachings, particularly. You can go back over the past couple of years and see how we progressed to this point. And even in that, we came in largely on point. We added value to a movement because we were already about reparations, which is why we came into and linked up with
Hey
those who
yo,
were about it.
let me tell you what Buffalo said earlier. I thought it was funny because I was in the space with Morgan and earlier, and we was just talking about different stuff, right? And we were talking about the Moors specifically. Well, I was anyway, and just breaking down the confusion that really comes out of the whole Moorish movement, etc., right? And how it,
Mhm.
you know, and so Buffalo was like, man, if y'all didn't come into, she was basically trying to say she would be pissed off at us if we didn't come into this space with the
Mhm.
amount of information we did bring, clearing up all the damn confusion of the Moorish shit,
Mhm.
man. She's like, man, because the Moors, I'm like, yeah, I understand though. I get it. I get
Mhm.
it, man. But that, like, I think Grim, I don't know if it was Grim that was saying it, that a lot of what we have actually done was because we were trying to correct the mistakes. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? A lot of the bad information of the Moors, and it kind of just manifested as this Freedmen stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of ill. Yeah, kind
That's
of ill
right.
how that happened.
Mhm. And the thing about it, man, we was looking like Naheem say, we was looking to the east. You know what I'm saying? For Moroccans and Turks and all of that kind of stuff, man. When the whole possession of several of these governments and stuff was given to us, man, so to speak. By enfranchising us for elections. We put plethoras of wicked beasts out of office. They had to take this thing from us by force, man. What they call the Colfax Rebellion.
That's right.
Yeah.
Rebellions are all over the Carolinas, man. We were in all those people got in office, but I mean, even in New Orleans, man, they had freedmen going to the polls carrying the American flag, man. It was just
That's right.
slaughtered on their way to go vote, man. And I
That's
think it
right.
was 1868, if I'm not mistaken, man. And crimes like this was happening all over the government. And you got a son of a gun saying that, yo, you the wrong one. You caused all of this. I mean,
These are our prophets right here behind us. My bad, Grim. I just want people
Right.
to know these are the people that died and bled for us. These are the people that carry the proverbial cross. These are the people
That's
that were crucified. These are
that's a
the people
powerful picture,
that were
man.
crucified.
Look at them hoods. Look at them white
Right.
sheets behind them
Look at
dudes,
them white
man.
sheets behind them, family. Let's look at this image. Look at this image. Like these are our people right here.
Powerful.
Our remedy was never in the East. Our remedy was always right here,
Right.
and that's a fact.
Yo, that image is crazy because what it says to me is in the face of racial terror and whatever else was going on with the plight of these freedmen, they sat dignified and they took office and they moved forward like with all of that other shit going on all around them. You see what I'm saying? Like that picture is powerful, man.
indeed, man. And man, when I was in the temple, I used to call Noble Drew Ali the father of the Moorish American nation. But now, bro, I mean, when I look at it in the scheme of things, man, it don't get no more being a patriarch or whatever of the freedmen nation than Frederick Douglass.
Right.
You don't
Yep.
get no greater than the whole thing. Frederick Douglass basically broke down that we were really citizens of this country and we didn't need no MST of A nationality card or none of that stuff, man. We how they say, man, this right here, man, this is the Freedmen Science Temple of America.
Come
I'll
on,
We
take
the,
man.
that.
Wow.
I'll
the
take
we,
that.
we the Freedmen Science Temple. The
Fact.
United Sons and Daughters of Free, and this ain't it didn't matter whether you believe in God, don't believe in God, whether you Baptist, Muslim, whether you Catholic, it don't matter, man, because it was the freedmen who took all of that stuff, man, to a whole nother level, man. You know, I,
That's
I mean,
right.
I don't know what to say. I mean, we even have, and we all touched on it in private, man. They got a lot of people that's into this, these, what they call metaphysics and stuff like that, man. We have Friedman metaphysics, man. We haven't even touched on the shit yet.
That's right. I got a book by W.E.B. Du Bois that really like there's some stuff that we haven't even gotten into, family. Like we're going to. Y'all see the website. Make sure y'all go to usadof.org. I'm putting that in the chat. And I don't know. I think sometimes you got to put the www dot when you put it in the chat. Go to the website so that you can see it up there. We it's good. People see the freedmen in the background up here, and that's great because somebody asked me the name. I can't remember all of the names of these particular freedmen in the background, but this is why I keep these particular images of the freedmen behind me, because these are the people that really, really shed their blood and lost their lives and fought for us in a way
Hey, those are the
that
real Knights of Liberty, man. Come
those are
on.
the Knights of Liberty, right? So when you go back, let's go let's go through this real quick, family. Like, if you don't understand who Moses Dixon is and the Knights of Liberty, then you're missing out, as we all were. And Grim was trying to show me this stuff for years. He was trying to get me to, and I was just so busy with the Moorish stuff that I never really got a chance to look at it until now. And when I looked at it, I said, hold up. I said, hold on. Right. So let's go to this image real quick. This is another one that y'all see me share in the background. This is another one. And when you look, you what you're looking at with these soldiers with these fezzes on. These are fezzes. You're looking at the Knights of Liberty. You're looking at the Odd Fellows behind them. You're looking at the rest of the Knights of Liberty, the cavalry behind them. You're looking at our people in all of their glory. You're looking at the inspiration from where Noble Drew Ali got his inspiration to do the Moorish Science Temple of America from. You see what I'm saying? So like these are powerful sigils that you're looking at right here. We till our own fields, which is what we did, Brother Sharif. We tilled our own fields and we put our monies, our savings into the Freedmen Savings and Trust Company. And the European here, they looted it. They looted it. When you're looking at Martin Delaney here leading a troop of freedmen, these are freedmen. We could speak to their ethnicity as being Moors, but as a status in this country, we see who these people are. These are freedmen with those feathers on. Noble Drew Ali came to speak to the freedmen in the United States of America. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
The fez is ain't no headdress of the Moroccans or the Moor. The fez is the headdress of the freedmen.
Talk to him.
Figure
Talk to
one
him.
on their constitution. If you ever seen a Moorish sign, charter, excuse me, the figure one, that's the fraternal headdress of the freedmen. Even before
That's right.
even before the foundation of the Moorish Science Temple of America, they had people in 1909. Man, I wish I could pull this stuff up. The
Bro,
social aid and pleasure clubs, the social aid and pleasure clubs, man, could you do me a favor, brother? Just indulge me for a second, man. And I know I pulled the Josh on y'all. Pull up the Young Men's Olympians Social Aid and Pleasure Club. If possible, brother, man, because I
I'm
just
getting
want
on it right now.
to, and I just want to make an example to show all the freedmen that the fez is a headdress of the fraternal order of the freedmen, regardless of the different societies that they may have been a part of. So when you see figure one on that charter, man, that ain't specific to y'all. Y'all ain't doing nothing special. And most of them hate on the other groups that wear that. I've been saying that for years.
Here go one. Here go one.
See now, this organizations, and that's why, like, and I hate to get into this. Like when I used to be telling my parents them, and I had this conversation with y'all about this stuff. And when I was doing all of that work, and I was telling my parents and talking to other people, that stuff really didn't affect them in my particular locale because people had already nobody was worrying about no Moorish Science Temple because people had already been into these things. And that picture Naheem is showing of a social aid and pleasure club called the Young Men's Olympians wearing that fez. That thing was formed, if I'm not mistaken, in 1909. You talking about decades before the Moorish Science Temple of America even took root. And don't even talk about the Shriners. I know they go, I don't want to get into that too much, but the Shriners have been wearing fezzes since 1895. And Naheem mentioned the Odd Fellows. They got the Elks. You got people in them societies from the AME Church. Man, I'm done, y'all.
and if you think about it, the lithograph that he's showing with this man with the freedmen being led into battle, that's during the Civil War. So obviously they were wearing fezzes during the Civil War.
That's right.
Obviously.
And this Freedmen thing, it ain't just 1865. I know I ain't
Look
gonna
at
go
that one,
into it,
Grim.
but
Look at that one that's
exactly,
on the screen.
exactly. That's the young
And
man's
look,
Olympics.
and in many ways we respect what Noble Drew Ali was doing and pulling certain elements of this stuff together, right? And in many ways,
Well,
it's why we're here,
Right.
right? It's
But
why we're here.
and look on that Fez. Because if you'll see like the Moorish nationality card, right? And a lot of Moorish symbolism,
I
they
see it, the
show the
handshake.
hand clasp
Uh-huh.
of unity, or what they call a hand clasp of unity. Man, that shit ain't new. That ain't no fucking new degree that dude brought to us, man. You know what I'm saying? This is an
It's right there.
organization formed in 1909. As a matter of fact, Father Moses Dixon employed all of this symbolism even before the Civil War in the Knights of Liberty
That's right.
and the Knights and Daughters of Tabor.
That's right.
Y'all see, man, we got our own thing. But man, I think that was Heavy D had that song. We got
We
our
got
own
our
thing.
own thing. It's a
The
fact, and
Freedmen got their
it's the
own thing.
freedmen. It's the freedmen. This is where our power is at, family. This is where our power is at. And since I've been in this freedmen movement, I can say that great things have been happening. And politically, we are starting to see a shift. I mean, we have articles that have come out about the freedmen movement by politicians. We've had people that have been on Revolt TV talking about the American freedmen. Y'all are going to see something hitting a mainstream news media outlet real soon. Make sure y'all follow us on Twitter as well at Real Naheem. Let me put my Twitter handle in the chat at Real Naheem. We're making moves, family. We are making moves, and we no longer have to wonder about if people will pick up on this thing. When we did the Juneteenth rally last year, there was a pastor, an elder by the name of Reverend Slaughter. And he was up next to speak, and he was standing next to me, and he leaned over to me. He said, "Freedmen." He said, it's so specific. He said, you know exactly who's being spoken about. And I was like, that's right, Elder, that's right. This is clear. This is clear. So, we came on here tonight to show our people, first and foremost, reparations is not a handout. It's not a handout. Other nations, other harmed citizens in this country, and when I say nations, I mean Indians, matter of fact, right? When I say citizens, I mean us in some degrees, but more so other folks have received repair. And that repair came through states, not through the federal government necessarily when it came to our people. Even when the COVID-19, one of the bills, the CARES Act was passed, and there was specific set asides that included Black people, shrouded in the language of people of color nonsense, then we see that the European, as they're called, right, the white folks, they went into attack mode and they sued because we're not using our status as freedmen. That's why that lawsuit that Byron Allen brought gained the traction that it gained, because he went back to the 1866 Civil Rights Act, something that you'll find my brothers and I who are on this platform right now speaking about 6 and 7 years ago, family. 6-7 years ago. So we just wanted to school some of our people up so that we can get them out of this nonsensical thinking that somehow reparations is a handout and that we can pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps when most of our people have no boots. Most of our people have no boots. Brother Index says, yeah, brothers, but sadly, Lincoln University in Missouri, founded by Moses Dixon, is closing this year. So sad. I've seen that. I've seen that. And you know what? I think we should start to push. You know what? Let's take that cause up as freedmen. People don't understand how important Moses Dixon was to our plight here as freedmen and his connection to people like John Brown, his connection with the Knights of Liberty and formulating the initial forces of freedmen that joined the Union Army in the first place, Brother Grimm. I don't think they understand that.
Sir. They don't understand it. And I seen that too. And that's sad, man. And you don't hear a lot of people talking about that university close. And I'm glad he or she brought that up. And the bottom line is, like, you know, you got all of these people running around worrying about Ukraine and worrying about all this other madness that's going on. And I hate to do it because I hate to put these people on the skylines. I think that school is going out of business. Going out of service because of the COVID pandemic, and also because, you know, after COVID, they was not able to basically pick that registration back up. Where is a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money. I think it was something like maybe like 20 million. So, you know, you got the rappers, the entertainers, you know, athletes, and everybody just let that place close, man. People who could have did all kinds of benefits and fundraising and, you know, recruitment, helping people with recruitment of students to go to that institution, man. We just worried about a whole bunch of other nonsense, man, and let one of the oldest HBCUs, man, go out of business.
That's right.
I'm glad they brought that up, man. It is absolutely pathetic, man. And we taking the L for that, man.
Yes, indeed. Brother Ali, did you have anything to add before we close this thing out?
Nah, just thinking about that. It's sad. I wish we could depend on those entertainers and athletes, man, but they've proven to not be, you know what I mean? They're not dependable for things like this. You know what I mean? Like if it's something where, say for instance, Jay-Z and Meek Mill want to make sure that rappers don't get in trouble for talking about their crimes on their records, yeah, they'll jump on board with that, man. They'll be all in with that. But like real shit like this that affects black people, you know, and deals with our legacy as freedmen, etc. Man, nah. You can't count on them for that.
Look at them fezzes, man. This is way before somebody came and told us.
This 1865, Grim.
Yeah,
18,
exactly.
No.
This is for the 15th Amendment.
Yeah, this is for the 15th Amendment. My bad.
The 15th Amendment.
That's right. That's right.
So my whole thing is like, before any of those groups, the temples and stuff, man, somebody knew something.
That's right.
Matter of fact, the Shriners Order wasn't founded until 1895, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. I believe it was 1895.
Right,
That's right.
1895, the ancient Egyptian Arabic Order of Nobles of the Mystic Shrine.
That's right.
So before the Shriners was formed, these people was wearing this shit. So somebody knew something.
That's right. So let's real quick pull up 15th Amendment. I've never known that date by heart like the other date. 1789. No. I don't know why that came up like that. That's not 1789. My bad. 1869. So this is 4 years after our being emancipated by federal decree, if you will, right? The 13th Amendment. Because 1861, we get the Emancipation Proclamation, which is really when our people were supposed to be freed in this country. So this is 1869. You see these people with these fezzes on, our freedmen ancestors. Here is a depiction of Martin Delaney. You can clearly see, much more clearer, that they in fact have on fezzes with tassels. Fezzes with tassels, man. Listen, y'all, there's some people out there that might not like us, but you cannot deny this information. Make sure y'all take this information, run with it. Run with it. Go and let people know that there are some teachings going on, and the brothers that be the power and the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen are helping to lead the way.
There
Period.
were there were over 200,000 black freedmen that fought for their own liberty in the Civil War. And what did Abraham Lincoln say about those black freedmen?
He said if not for the help of the black freedmen, the Union would have lost the war.
Facts. You see that?
Mm,
How you said it, Grim? The freedmen had to enforce the Constitution, man.
That's
Right?
right.
You know, if freedmen had to enforce the Constitution in order to save the nation.
That's right.
Man, man, you can't get out of this stuff. And I want to touch on something that you basically brought to us, Ali, in regards to this whole freedman concept from a lot of the stuff that you was doing and in researching New Amsterdam and stuff like that, man. 1865, man. I mean, I don't want to get too much in it because I know we gonna break it down later, man. But this thing is modern, but it's also ancient.
That's a fact. That is a fact, man. We were talking about that in Morgan Space earlier. We shit, man. We touched on the Punic Wars. Shoot, what else we touched on, Morgan? We touched on the Punic Wars. We touched on the Carthaginians and versus the Roman during that time period. We touched on the Umayyads. We touched on the Berbers and the General Tariq going into Spain. We talked about the conquest of Guinea, the Crusades. That's right, Morgan. The Crusades we touched on. We was talking about a whole bunch of stuff, man. Ancient hatreds. You know what I mean? The Muslims versus the Christians, all of that. We was going into all that shit, man.
Yep.
People have scratched the surface of this thing, and they've not really looked at the history in totality, right? And damn, there's an image. Let's see if I can pull this thing up. I don't know if I have it saved on my computer, but it was from an old book, and the name of the book was called The Outgrowth of America was due to the conquest.
No, the discovery of America.
The discovery of America was due to the conquest of the Moors. Man, there we go. All right, let me. I'm gonna pull that up. Y'all know how we do over here, man. We just the facts, just the facts, family. And there was I wanted to y'all to look at something in
And
that
these
image.
Moors have nothing to do with the Moorish Science Temple. This is historical.
That's right. The discovery of America and outgrowth of the conquest of the Moors. That's right, Sister Cynthia. We call Brother Ali over here the professor, and that he is. And I wasn't in the space earlier. My I don't know, my Twitter spaces is just all messed up. I gotta hold the damn phone so that the backlight don't come on, which knocks me off the space. Hopefully they'll fix that thing one day. I don't delve into too many conspiracy theories, but it just seems funny to me that I'm the only one that has that problem.
And peep this, right? The whole title is The Discovery of America. And key in on the word discovery because I'm going to say something. The discovery of America, an outgrowth of the conquest of the Moors by the Spaniards.
By the Spaniards.
Now, I
That's right.
mentioned in the space earlier the Portuguese historian Azarara, right, and how he chronicled what was going on at that time in terms of the so-called conquest of Guinea, the Crusades against the Moors or the Saracens, and etc. And so during the age of discovery, right, the term discovery is actually a term used for conquest, right? It's a Christian term of conquest. So when they're talking about discovering something, they're actually talking about claiming ownership and spiritual jurisdiction over things and people. That's how deep the word discovery is. It's on the surface, it seems a certain kind of way, like this is what it is, like, oh, they discovered this land, they can't, like, meaning they happen to. No, discovery, if you go into even the doctrine of discovery of the Christians, you'll see that the term discovery is actually a term that has everything to do with conquest and claiming jurisdiction, spiritual and physical jurisdiction over people and over things and over places. They even, as a matter of fact, the term baptized, they were even using the term baptized as a term of conquest. They would baptize animals. They would baptize the land. They would baptize the water. They would baptize the air to claim spiritual jurisdiction over
That's
it.
right. That's
This is
right.
what they were doing. So this shit is deep. The word discovery is a real deep word when you really dig into what they actually meant by discovery.
That's right. So, all right, fam, we've been on here for a good couple hours, and you know we did what we always do. We came to teach tonight. You know, we didn't. You know, hopefully nobody felt no kind of way. Y'all know me. I don't care. But
Now I
that
think we had a
wasn't the
good. I
purpose.
think
Yeah, that wasn't
we
the
had a
purpose.
good academic
That's right.
conversation and
That's
really
right.
a breakdown of what that was. There ain't no reason to get all bent out of shape because
Yeah.
I
You know.
texted Sharif and told him that I had a problem with some of the things that he said. So he already knew before we even started the show that there was, that, you know, obviously there was an issue, and I sent him the link to tune in and etc. So he knew,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Wasn't nothing. Wasn't nothing.
Indeed. Indeed. So, you know,
It
we're gonna
ain't
close.
no hate, man. It's all about truth, man.
That's right. That's right. So we're gonna close this thing out, family. You know, we'll be back on. I'm thinking about doing something on the live. I don't know if I'm gonna do that on a Twitter space or bring it here to the channel. I want to keep our channel going. You know, we've been kind of locked into them Twitter spaces, and one of the things that I noticed about the Twitter spaces is that you have a lot of people who are not genuine. That, like, when we did a space the other night after Uncle Luke's room, and from the Two Live crew, so y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. And then we seen some, you know, a lot of clout chasing pretendians. They came into our room, then they started a room because they seen how, you know, our room started to populate, just to siphon away the discussion. And they know that they can't deal with us with the information. And it wasn't about that with them. It was about getting a retweet from Luke, you know, and that was it. What forget what BTP was talking about. We could get a retweet from somebody famous, and that makes us look good. That's not why we do it, family. That's not why we do what we do. And I think many people have come to that conclusion by now. And if you haven't, let me be the first to tell you. It's not why we do what we do. This is about education. I believe that we can win this fight. And, you know, problematic positions like the one Stacey Abrams has taken, where she said that you can't. You know what? Let me play that before we get off of here. If the bros don't mind, I would like to play that before we get off of here. That might be our next live. Let me play this real quick. And this is from the brother
deal with them too.
Phil's,
So you didn't identify
brother Phil. What's his name, y'all? Philip Scott's channel. This is from his channel. He did a good breakdown of it.
just as much as black.
I don't know why I went back so far. Oh, damn, I'm past the damn thing. My bad, y'all. Let's play this part so y'all know what to look forward to.
Is why are politicians so afraid to say that they're doing something especially specifically for black people? Like they use the cloak of poor people and
Wait, pay attention, brother Sharif, if you're still watching. Pay attention. We can't just do this do for self thing. Politicians get to help everybody else except us. If you know about the Moynihan report, then you'll understand. But let me continue.
people of color, the underprivileged. Why is it that you can't just come out and say, I'm doing this for black people because black people need it? Because so many things have been done to us throughout the history of this country. So many things have been done to us, but very little has been done specifically for us. Why do you think that is?
Because African Americans represent 12% of the population. And so if you are a traditional politician doing the math, you think, if I name this group, I am going to lose other people, and I can't get, if every single black person voted for me, this may not get me what I want.
Real quick, because we're going to do a deep dive on this when we live stream. Don't let them hit you with that African Americans are 12% of the population stuff, right? Because we did a live stream here. I believe it, man, that might have been 2 years ago, where we broke down that, in fact, as an ethnic group, African Americans are the second largest ethnic group in the United States of America. It's when you get into the false construct that is race where we get pushed down into this minute number, because they get to add Hispanics as one race. Then they get to add white people who have Hispanics that identify as whites on their records into their group. So that pushes us down. So this is a myth that, well, racially it's not a myth according to how the United States of America's racial structure is done. That's not a myth. But we are the second largest ethnic group in this country, family.
And I personally think we are the largest ethnic group in this single ethnic group in this country. But, be that as it may, according to what's written, the German Americans are the largest ethnic group, and we are the second largest ethnic group. But what's interesting is that I wanted to point out is what happens with the devil. And I'm not calling Stacey Abrams a devil, but what I'm saying is the devil and their tools, what they often like to do with black folks, because they figure black folks are not really into math, or they don't really understand what they're doing when they're doing this, is they like to play the statistic game. That's what I call it, the statistic game. Black people are only 12% of this and 14% of this, and you're only 13% of the this and 12% of the this, right? When they start doing all of that kind of talk, always know, as soon as they start that percentage shit, they doing it to throw you off so that you don't look at the thing for what it really is. What we're saying is, if you look at this for what it really is, you'll realize that they are grouping other people up against you. So the way African American was supposed to be an ethnic name for freedmen, right? It was supposed to be an ethnic name for freedmen. It includes a whole bunch of people now, but it was supposed to be. But let's say African American as an ethnic group, as an actual ethnic name for the American freedmen. Let's say that that's what that is, right? And we're the second largest ethnic group in the United States. In order to make the Hispanics beat you out, they got to put the Dominicans together with the Puerto Ricans, together with the Costa Ricans, together with the Mexicans, together with the you understand what I'm saying? This is what they do, and they'll group all of these other ethnic groups together and say they're actually larger than you, even though the Latino or Hispanic thing, in essence, is really a race that is comprised of multiple ethnic Latino ethnic groups. They'll put it all together and then put it up against the African American single ethnic group and say, see, the Hispanics outnumber you. Yeah, boy, you're talking about a whole. The Dominicans don't outnumber the
That's
African
right.
Americans.
Puerto
The Puerto
Ricans
Ricans don't outnumber the African
Mexicans don't.
Americans.
That's right.
But same thing, right? The Irish Americans don't outnumber African Americans.
That's right.
Italian Americans don't outnumber African Americans. But when you put them all together as white people, then
That's
yeah,
right.
that's what happens.
That's right.
So the percentage game and the race game and all of that stuff is designed to keep you at the bottom of everything that they do, man. It's all tricknology, as Elijah Muhammad would say.
That's
Yep.
right.
Just like the Bible say, man. There's a quote in the Bible. I can't think of the exact book and verse, man, but that demonstration say, let us cut them off from being a nation.
That's right.
That's right.
And that sentiment is not just carried by people like Stacey Abrams, right? Who else carries that sentiment?
So he did immigration, you know, obviously stopping this stupid wall that they're building. He
The
dealt
Muslim
with
countries stuff.
the Muslim ban, getting rid of the Muslim ban. He dealt with making sure that I think 11 million people will become citizens. So he's doing things, right? But with black folks, you can't just sign something to say stop killing
gotta
black
do something.
people. It's not that simple.
And
See, so when it comes to us, it can't just be that simple. And we're gonna break this down when we do. Let me know if I'm going in and out. I'm hearing distortion in my headphones.
No, you good now.
I'm good. Okay. So we're gonna go in. I'm thinking about doing the live maybe tomorrow night, possibly Sunday, because y'all know boxing is Saturday, and those that know I'm a big boxing fan. So we want to touch on this thing, man, because you know, let me see, please make what you just said about ethnic groups into an edited short. Yeah, you know what? We should do that, fellas. We definitely should do that. And I'm gonna do that, Muffinella. I've been waiting to hear from you. I've been waiting to hear from you, brother. I've been waiting, patiently waiting. Get at me. Let me give me an update at least. Give me an update. But so with that, we are going to end this stream, man. This has been another BTP production, or BTP class is in session production. We're hoping that we gave enough information for brother Sharif Bey and those who believe as he believes when it comes to reparations, you know, that they could look at it differently, because I think that many of our people, Black Americans, Moorish Americans, whatever term, we have adopted this Confederate view of looking at our people. Again, I don't know if that brother is a Freedmen descent. Yes, Index. Tank Davis going to knock that dude Rolly out. And then Errol Spence is going to beat he going to beat Bud Crawford up from first round till he stop him in the round. I'm gonna say he stops Bud around the 9th, 10th round. But anyway, I'll be thinking about doing some little boxing streams as well. I got a little bit of knowledge. Just a little bit. I'm above a casual. I'm not quite casual. I'm not as knowledgeable as some of the other guys, but I'm definitely above a casual. I said I wasn't picking against Canelo. And, you know, I was telling Brother Logic this. I was like, I wasn't picking against Canelo, but I seen something in his eyes that when they were doing the presser that I never seen in his eyes before. So, and I that part of it showed me that I was right. And he lost. But that's another conversation, of course. So, fam, thank you all for coming through, man. I appreciate you all. And make sure if you haven't hit the like button, hit the like button. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit that little bell icon next to the subscribe button so that you can become a part of the Notification Nation and be informed every time Be the Power goes live so that you can get some of this dynamic, educational, political content. Shout out to everybody that listened in. Peace and love to you all. We are out of here, fam. Oh, y'all know the motto of the platform. That is, don't just fight the power, become the power. And then and only then will you have the power to make a change. And with that, I say peace.